Yeah, I don't want to get it.
Move over here.
Not yet. It's going in, it's inflicting pain by digging with their thumbs.
Okay. Is everybody in the council ready? Jerry, you ready? Good evening. Welcome to the Committee of the Whole. We have one item on the agenda tonight. That item is the discussion of funding for senior housing projects being age 73. My radar immediately picked up on that. I'm not quite there yet, but I want to plan ahead. So for that reason, what we have here tonight is Westbrook Housing is here, for my information, my wife is the same age, and the ones that are going to catch up with us eventually. So, who would like to come and start her off?
Good evening, council members and Mayor, Mr. Bryant. I am Chris LaRosse. I am the Executive Director of the Housing Authority of the City of Westbrook. Thank you for receiving us tonight, allowing us to present to you the Committee of the Whole are two items that we have an intent to address with public housing at Westbrook Housing. Two items I'm going to discuss tonight are, one is the existing public housing known as Riverview Terrace at 21 Knight Street and Larrabee Woods at 10 Liza Harmon Drive. The other item, the second item, is what's known as Larrabee Commons, a proposed 38-unit elderly affordable housing complex on land that we would like to detach from the Larrabee Woods property at Liza Harmon Drive. Up here, you can see pictures. On the left is Larrabee Woods, which is 25 units of elderly housing built a little over 30 years ago. And to the right, Riverview Terrace, which we built over 40 years ago at 21 Knight Street. That's 58 units of elderly housing, also with some folks who have disabilities. It's a total of 83 units. About 20 years ago in Congress, there was a deficiency of federal funds for public housing. And unfortunately, as a result of that, the capital expenditures have grown, and the funding to address capital improvements at public housing across the country has been underfunded by about 50% in the last 20 years. Also, operating funds have been reduced in the last 15 years by about, with inflation, almost 30%. The upside, the good side of that is Westbrook Housing, we're inspected every 1 to 3 years by HUD, and we were just inspected last year. The inspector who came from Philadelphia identified this is some of the best kept public housing she's ever been in. She goes all along the East Coast, from the Mississippi, from Florida to so that's a positive note. On the downside is that 30 to 40-year-old buildings are starting to reach useful life. And in 2013, we had a capital assessment completed on the properties, and we've identified that we have about $3.25 million worth of capital upgrades to complete the buildings to give them the next 20 to 30 years of life of the building. This isn't a problem today, but in the next few years it will start to accumulate as deferred maintenance, and it will be a problem. We won't be able to provide affordable, quality housing. HUD in 2012, through the approval of Congress, has come out with a program called Rental Assistance Demonstration. Fancy name for a pilot program which Congress has in 2014 increased threefold. They had a pilot of 65 apartment units to be converted and now 185,000 units. We had submitted our application and HUD has approved Westbrook Housing to participate in the rental assistance demonstration program. And as a next step in the process, we come to the city for your endorsement. The goal of the program is through a public-private partnership, we would take the public housing off of the public housing trust and we would use other mechanisms to infuse capital such as the low-income housing tax credit program. By doing this, we can increase the life of the property, update the property, replace most of the mechanical structures of the property, and keep the housing affordable. There's a lot of restrictions on this provided by HUD. One of them is that no residents are displaced. The resident mix stays the same. The rents are what would be identified as rent restricted. So the rents that exist today will stay with the property. They will go up based upon inflation. The term is called OCAP. So what the HUD is saying, or Congress is saying, is that the government can't provide the money to do complete needed capital improvements, but through using other funding mechanisms, we're going to allow the housing authorities to take the housing off of the public deed trust, privatize the housing, and infuse through a process capital improvements. So when we do this, when the money comes in, we have to put it in. A lot of restrictions. The property will be maintained through its affordability over 20 years by removing the operating funds and moving it over to the other side of HUD called multifamily housing, and through Westbrook Housing, all units over a period of 20 years will have a project-based function. And that 20 years, those will be renewed again on a contract by the property through Westbrook Housing. We come before the city to identify our intent, two reasons, because we have been approved to do this, and it is your public housing that the city council voted and approved for, and you are the governing body of the housing authority. So we will need your endorsement to proceed in this endeavor, if you so see fit. Second item, somewhat attached to this, is that we are looking to split off some land from Larrabee Woods. And our goal here is to build 38 units of elderly affordable housing. This building is the same building design that we have at Spring Crossing and the same building design that is proposed going into Nova Phase 2, which hopefully is moving, well, it is moving along. Hopefully we'll have final funding for that project this year. This will be 38 units, elderly apartments. This will be built through the low-income housing tax credit program. That's a sort of an elevation view, front, back, both sides. Be 4 stories. It is conforming to the property, and it fits right in with the campus setting between Larrabee Woods, Larrabee Heights, and Larrabee Village. In this view, you see just a floor plan of the building. All of the apartments are 608 square feet, 1-bedroom apartments for the elderly. These will all be handicap accessible. This will be operated by Westbrook Housing, and very similar to Spring Crossing, Millbrook, or Westbrook High School, same type of dynamic. What I'd like to show you right now is that we are looking to split the land off from Larrabee Woods. I'm going to step away from the mic a little bit. This property here is all of the Larrabee Woods property. This is what is on the deed of trust. This piece here is what we'd like to break off. So in this diagram, you see that large parcel of land is all of the property under the Federal Housing Trust. In the upper right-hand corner where you see the proposed new building is what we'd like to break off from the Federal Housing Trust. The federal government, again, requires the city, the administration council, as the governing body of the housing authority, to approve us to do this. And we would need a letter of endorsement from the city to continue with this project. These are two separate activities. We will have the RAD going in as one separate activity, and the disposition, breaking off the land, is a separate activity. It's the same process. We have to fill out the same application, but two separate activities that we'll be conducting simultaneously. As far as displaying off the land, we've done all the preparation work. We've completed the environmental reviews, the site surveys. We've gone to the city to obtain an opinion of value. The land value has a value of $440,000. We are restricted by the federal government with those funds, which means that we need to put that back into public housing. And our intent is to put that value right back into Riverview Terrace in Larrabee Woods for the $5 million total cost of the development. That is per the federal regulation that the money stays with the property, or we pay back to the government. Our feeling as your housing authority is that this is money that we like to keep in the community to serve constituents. So that would be our recommendation. And there's a guideline to that, and we'll do the comments. Same thing we did when we removed Pine Knoll Terrace and turned those into condominium. There was proceeds that came from the sale that stays in the community for affordable housing development to meet the needs of affordable housing in the community. So with that, I'll show you this one other picture here. So it gives you a little more of a breakdown. It shows you a little better where the property is going to go. The property will actually have two entrances. One will be facing Larrabee Village. One will be facing back into the existing grassy area. There will be a makeup of a park atmosphere there. Eventually, we like to have that as available as sort of a neighborhood park. But our goal is to complete the campus outlook of Liza Harmon Drive and keep that campus setting, create a neighborhood, utilize the existing land that is raw, vacant, and does not contribute to the tax base of the city. So this, in this situation, this will increase the tax base. It'll, like all of the other properties, it itself will have all the services provided for by Westbrook Housing, trash removal, maintenance of the grounds. In addition to that, right now, because of the property's public housing, non-housing trust, that raw land does not contribute to the tax base. Riverview Terrace in the Woods combined today contributes only $16,000 to the tax base, and we could contribute more as well to the land process. This is our intent with the property itself, to create land that's good land, doesn't impact the city. We'd rather use the land we have rather than go out and purchase land that could be used for commercial development or for market rate housing. Create 38 elderly apartments. Right now we have a waiting list of 405 people. Last year when we came before the city, we had at this time 286 people on the waiting list. And so the need is there. And at this juncture, we'd rather utilize this raw land and break it off from the housing trust to do this. So I'll stop there if there are any questions.
Councilor Foley.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for the presentation, Chris. One of the questions I did have is in your position paper in the last paragraph, you had indicated that once these properties are privatized, that you would like them to be paying property tax through the housing tax increment financing program. What's the difference between the housing tax increment financing program versus just the pilot as we have on the other properties?
I'll talk briefly on that, and then if you don't mind, I'll hand it over to Gary Vogel, who's even better versed in that field than I am. Historically, the housing authority would come to a community, this or any housing authority would come to a community and stay within the sort of the mindset of the 1937 federal law of the federal government participating in the development of affordable housing is that the community would invest itself as well as the federal government investing its funding into communities for affordable housing. Where the federal government was providing federal tax dollars, they looked to the community to abate taxes or not have taxes be paid on public housing. Over the years, we realized that a reduction in taxes served as well as paying no taxes. So many times the public housing authority would come and ask for no taxes to be paid. And that works well in some cases. And then at times there's a need to pay a payment in lieu of taxes where that development may not need all the services of the community, but does have tax impact on the community. When I came to the city 2 years ago, I identified that my personal feeling is that all affordable housing has a commitment to the community to pay taxes because these folks are vested in the community. That's part of the identity of the community. And yet, at the same point in time, a housing development of this type doesn't have the same impact on the community as, say, a single-family home or a market rate apartment building that may require more services. These folks, because they're older, do not have an impact on the school system. There's a lot of reasons for identifying either no taxes pilot or tax increment financing. The tax increment financing has an immediate need for the property because of the local housing tax credit application process with the state of Maine and Maine Housing. If we have a tax increment financing, we actually obtain points in the application process, and it's a scoring system to be awarded the tax credits. And prescore does not clearly identify that. Where with the 2 points of the tax increment financing, it puts us over 50-point threshold, which pretty much assures us a very competitive application to get the tax credits this year. If we work with the city and obtain a pilot, it would reduce the points and make us vulnerable to not obtaining a tax credit at this time. On average, is about 18 to 20 applications that go to Maine Housing. Each application, 4 to 6 do receive the tax credit. That's one of the stumbling blocks we had with Millbrook, is that instead of coming to the city with tax increment financing, we asked for pilot. At the same point in time, we've done some calculations with tax increment financing where we're looking for a 20-year period. After that, it's fully taxable. There's an added benefit to the city, as well as we can use some of that tax increment financing to do road improvements at the intersection of Liza Harmon Drive and Main Street. So start clear.
Okay, and given the suggestion for the tax increment financing, does that award you points for the new project or for the existing project?
For the new project.
Okay, so how do you plan if the previous projects, the older projects come on the tax rolls, the pilot, I guess, would no longer apply and they would be taxed at the standard tax rate?
It would. Our initial intent for the old project is to work with the city and see what would work best, if we could maintain the pilot. If the old project, I shouldn't say, Larrabee Woods and Riverview Terrace are taxed at the full rate, we would not be able to do this. Financially, it wouldn't survive. We could not participate in the probably $82 million of capital. We first approached the city, and our intent was not to tip the project. We felt we were okay, but we've had Gary and others starting to look at that as they've been doing their homework and preparing to discuss with the city the details of the TIF. If the council decides that it would like to work with us on the TIF, that there might be an added benefit for the city to look at a TIF for the existing Larrabee Woods and Riverview Terrace. This is something that we just identified, and it wasn't really our intent to do all 3 properties on it, but that could enter the discussion because there's actually an added benefit to the city. And I would let Gary talk about that more in the immediate, financially as well, at 20 years, will be fully passed. And if you do that on the plot, that kind of thing.
That answers my questions. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Councilor Reed. No, no, sir. Councilor Hurd.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just through you to the housing director. Chris, what happens if we don't give you the letter?
If you do not give us a letter of endorsement to move ahead with the either the RAD project or a letter of endorsement to move ahead with the disposition of the land, two things happen. One is that public housing stays the same as public housing, and we will struggle. I'd say 5-6 years from now, it will be a problem. I've replaced the roof on one building. I've replaced the burner, the furnace, which was $150,000 replacement in Riverview Terrace. We'll start dealing. Right now, we're taking care of some exterior items as far as repointing direct. We're going to need a new roof in a few years in Riverview Terrace. All the mechanicals are starting to get to that point where they're going to need replacement. We'll need a new elevator eventually, $75,000. Today's $75,000. So these items will start accumulating as deferred maintenance. I don't want to go to the far extreme, but conceivably, we could end up like other housing authorities where 7, 8, 10 years from now, we could come to the city and say we need to turn the keys over to HUD because we can't take care of the property anymore. It's not habitable at the standard that the city and HUD would require. That's an extreme. I don't want to scare people about that. I think the staff did a good job of making do with the funds we have, but these deferred items will start accumulating over time. As far as the disposition of land, if the city decides that it would not be desirous to endorse us building a new building, we would stop. And that land would just sit idle until some future date in time. Now, with that being said, city might say, well, maybe it isn't the time to do that. And maybe 5 years from now, the city might come back and say, we like that idea, and we feel that we'd like you to do it in 2020. We could do that, but at the same point in time, the rules of the game can change. Every year, sometimes every 2 years, this institute is a qualified application plan, which is a statewide plan for affordable housing. We have to follow those rules to apply for the low-income housing tax credit. That's how we are scored. That could change dramatically. Right now, the city of Westbrook scores favorably in this process. And today, the need is here. It will, if the city endorses this, it will take us now until September, and we do need to get our application sooner because October 1, the rules change. That is a fact. Congress has changed the rules of the disposition of land. It will take us. It's a lengthier process. Right now, we're grandfathering the old rules, and we've done all of our homework. We've done all our environmental reviews. We've done everything we need to do. And once we endorse it, the city will consider the application. If the city doesn't endorse it, we stop. We could come back at a later point in time. The rule could change, and it may not be affordable to build. We may not get the points, and we may not get the private investment. That's speculative, but that's what could happen. Right now, the stars, the moon, the earth are all lined up. And that would be a $6 million project.
And you talked about the need. And the building units over on East Bridge Street, and now we want to look at building something at the Larrabee Woods location. Tell us about the need. Is it out there? Will the units be filled quickly? Are we at a juncture in the greater Portland area where the need is critical? Is it not critical? So tell us about the need in your opinion.
Yeah, that's a very good question. There's a couple items that dovetail right into this. Is that last year we had 286 people on the waiting list at this time that came before the city council for Norfolk Phase 2. This year we have 405 people. Bulk of those folks are Westbrook constituents. So there could be a few people who are from the metro area. Bulk of those folks are Westbrook constituents. Many of those folks, they're all elderly, and many of those folks many times have a spouse that's party. At the same point in time, many of those folks have a limited income. These folks are good folks. They work hard. They save their IRAs. They gotta save a small pension, but you know, what they save for, inflation is taken away, or a spouse died, they lose half their social security, so they live in a 1,500 square foot home. They can't afford to heat it. They can't maintain it themselves, and you know, all of their money is going to their house, and they can't eat. So you have a unit like this where the heat's included, the electricity's included, the maintenance is included. It's affordable for them. So that's the impact on the citizen. Right now, we participated in a study that in Maine to date, there's 9,000 people who need and would qualify for affordable housing. In 2020, that would be 15,000 people, and it grows exponentially. When I first came to Westbrook, I looked at our inventory at the housing authority, about 480 some odd units. All but 36 are elderly units. And my concern was, you know, do we have too much elderly inventory? What will be the impact on the housing authority 20 years from now? And actually, the numbers with the baby boomers over the next 20 years will still increase, and those numbers are growing. The other side of the coin is that what happens after 20 years is that all of those people from 18 to 30, that generation, the demographics is the same proportion of the census tract remaining. I correct myself. Maine's not the same as the federal, as national level. But that demographic of 18 to 30 proportionally is the same as the boomers. So when the boomers start phasing out, start dying off, this whole next generation will be coming into the housing. So the stock will subsist and meet the needs today, over the next 20 years, and then for the next generation. So that's the need on Westbrook's immediate need, the Westbrook dynamic of the Westbrook constituency. We have 38 units at Millbrook Phase 2, this 38 units. And we're looking at the rest of our land, which will take us another year to identify the rest of the land that Westbrook Housing has, some of it at the Larrabee Village, and work with the city and see how we can utilize that. You know, if I could put another 100 units on Larrabee Village campus, you know, if it's supported, I mean, there's a lot of land, there's a lot of work to be done, engineering-wise, and what the city plans. You know, basically Westbrook Housing could increase its housing stock by 50% that it currently has, and yet we still only need half of the need as it's defined today.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any other questions? Councilor Chow.
Yes, thank you. Through you to the administration or something, procedurally, where are we on, if you get your letter, and then you mentioned a TIF, then you would come back to the council and for a TIF or the finance committee, or how is this all working? And then what's your time? It seems like we need to do everything by September, October.
Sure.
And we have to decide on this TIF by then.
Correct. There are two things, or three things we're asking of the council. Two items are condensed into one task. The first request of the city is that we're requesting a letter of endorsement for us to provide to HUD, that we may move forward with that, and we may move forward with the disposition of the land from there. With that being said, we would like to come back to the city and discuss the annual TIF, so we could, in August, we would be required to submit a pre-application to Maine Housing for low-income housing tax credits, for what's called Larrabee Commons in these 30 units. That would need to be finalized by October, usually the 10th or 12th of October, when the applications are actually due to be submitted. So there's time. We did not want to come and pressure the city to say, well, we need the endorsement as soon as possible. And then, by the way, we need a TIF as soon as possible. You know, we didn't think we needed TIF, and we thought we'd be able to move forward with a pilot as usual. But as we dug into the points and we realized TIF would be needed, and that this would be a new request of the council, it's taking a different track. And it would be something I would imagine the council would want to vet in detail and talk with your own city attorneys, talk to the administration, with our development team and our council, so that this could all be ironed out and to make sure that the needs of the city being met in the development of the senior affordable housing, as well as the generating of tax revenue, not only to offset any impact that the development has for the city, but also make sure that that section of a TIF district that would be set for the housing would be a long-term benefit, not only in the immediate term, but post.
Yes.
I can ask the procedural timing questions that you about questions. The letters or combined letter of endorsement for the RAD for privatizing the ownership of Riverview Terrace and Larrabee Woods, and the letter of endorsement for splitting off a piece of the current Larrabee campus to be used for this proposed new 38-unit Larrabee Commons elderly housing project would come forward immediately, literally at the next meeting. The issue of the TIF is somewhat bifurcated. It really, in order to compete effectively for the financing, correct me if I'm wrong here, please, to compete for the financing of the Larrabee Commons project would require a TIF on that property and would be needed in order to be competitive to get the funding they need to build that project. The second piece of the TIF, or the second piece of the TIF question is, do we also look at Riverview Terrace and Larrabee Woods, which are existing properties, and they're simply changing the ownership status from publicly owned to privately owned? Would a TIF there, we know would be advantageous to the housing authority, okay? Would it also be advantageous to the city? We've not even done that analysis yet. That is something that, and I don't think at this point the council should be making a decision on that, because we don't have the information to provide you. That's still up in the air. The issue that you really need to deal with in the short term is the endorsements of those two, the new project at the current Liza Hammer Drive, Larrabee campus, if you will, and the privatization of ownership of Riverview Terrace and Larrabee Woods. Does that answer your question?
It does, and then my concern I have is that if we do endorse the letter, it's fine. Are we endorsing the TIF as well, or at that point do we come back and we say, you know, oh, we can't do this if we don't TIF? You guys have this letter, we've gone so far. We kind of have to go TIF.
Well, if we can do one, we would need the endorsement to move ahead, no matter what. And yes, if you came back and said, no, we could not do the TIF, it would not stop the RAD. And it could potentially stop the development of Larrabee Commons. And what I mean it would stop the development of Larrabee Commons, the new building, is that we would go ahead and submit our tax credit application, but we pre-scored it. We probably wouldn't score high enough to get it. We know that going in. Then we would be at the mercy of Maine Housing next February, and it all depends on where the state is with bond money. And we'd be in the same situation we are now with Nova, waiting to see if we can make a 4% tax credit work. And we will do that. And to make that work, we will be going out to Federal Home Loan Bank funds, about $1 million worth of funds there to make Larrabee Commons work. We'll be doing the same for RAD. That gets into the pro forma to the financial structure. What I'm saying is that if you endorse the letter to HUD, that allows us to keep moving ahead. We can't move ahead without that. Yes, we would like you to approve a TIF, but if you do not approve a TIF, does that stop the project? Either one of them, no. Does it make it, it diminishes the probability of them getting built with a 9% tax credit, and forces us to go after 4% tax credit money, which they may not be built. But we can't even get to that next step if the city hasn't endorsed the letter to dispose of the land and to allow us to go forward with that. Now, just so you know, when we submit that application, it's very specific to what we're doing. So if we cannot build this, then we can't build it. And if we cannot move forward with the privatization of the public housing as defined by HUD, which we need to 90% tax credits, then everything just stays in the is. But we cannot move ahead without the city's endorsement of the disposition of the land in the proposal for moving both the housing and the land and housing. So just one more question.
You have the floor, sir.
Thank you. And then moving the property into away from the federal deed trust. Is there any problems in the future where you'll see that, man, I wish I didn't do that? And you'll say 10 years from now, I say, oh, we should have kept it there. And that's the only question I have is, it sounds like you're going forward and it's a great program, but I don't know if it's hard to look at the crystal ball to see if there's any.
Yeah, I think Gary could do the job there.
Hi, thank you. Gary Vogel, I'm the attorney for Westbrook Housing. So the question is, does it make sense to privatize the public housing? Are we going to regret doing that? Under the RAD program, essentially, just to give you a little bit more detail about it, what happens is the project has to be transferred to a nonprofit, an affiliated nonprofit with the Housing Authority. And in this case, it would be Westbrook Development Corporation, which is a 501c3. And what they get is they get a project-based Section 8 contract. So instead of having a congressionally approved housing subsidy that comes through as public housing, you get a long-term Section 8 project-based contract that stays with the project to preserve the affordability. We also get a long-term restriction on the use of the program, and the property is controlled by Westbrook Development Corporation, which is affiliated with the Housing Authority, and its mission is to provide public housing. So it ends up being similar to other Section 8 projects that are owned by sort of municipally affiliated nonprofit housing providers, of which I'm not sure whether there are any here in Westbrook, but in other communities, the goal is to keep them affordable as long as possible. The affordability restrictions that would be on it would be we could not turn around and sell it to another, turn it into any other kind of housing other than low-income housing that continues to serve these residents who have incomes at 60% or less of area median income. And it would protect it really for as long as the then useful life of the property. When that goes on, after that, it's hard to say. I think the restrictions go for at least 30 years. But what it does do, because it creates the private ownership, it enables us to go to the banks, enables us to go to the federal low-income housing tax credit program and obtain financing for the projects, put in replacement reserves, and do things and operate it more like a conventional, affordable housing project rather than a public project that has to rely upon grants from the federal government for the improvements.
At this point, I have a question. What is the exposure to the city of Westbrook, or in other words, do we have any potential costs if we do this or if we don't do this? You're able to answer that.
There is no exposure to the city financially, no cost burdens. One item that came up in the planning board is actually a benefit to the city, and we've actually reduced the cost. At the intersection of Main Street and Liza Harmon Drive is the city engineer and the city planner have advised us in the pre-planning process of creating wider egress point for a right-hand turning lane. We did do a complete traffic study, and our intent was actually to hopefully have a traffic light there. Unfortunately, that needs a larger demographic. And unfortunately, the traffic study came back at the full density of all that property back if we built up full density. And we took into account the new businesses coming into the area and with all the activity at City Hall, we were not in that requirement. But we would be able to use this development and funds from the TIF to be able to redo that intersection. Not only make it wider, make it turning lane, make it safer. Also, there would be a all repaved. That road would choose to light at every point. In addition to that, the development itself maintains its current status, pays all of its own utilities, pays its own maintenance, pays for its own trash removal. There's no impact of children coming into the school system because it's elderly. So there is no added potential cost of the city. As a matter of fact, because we privatized it, the city is actually one further step removed from it. We were at a point today financially, we were in trouble with that property. If I came to the city and said, I need X amount of dollars to keep it running, you could authorize that because of construction. But now we remove it from that. It becomes fully self-sufficient. I mean, it has been self-sufficient. It maintains that status even one step further. So there is no financial impact. I think really what Gary Gold has identified, because of the potential shortfall of federal funding, if it continues on the next 20 years, the way it had the last one, is that we're protecting the property with the capital improvements.
Thank you. Okay, at this point, I guess the question is, what is our next step? And Jerry would be very happy to instruct us.
Well, what's next?
What's next?
Jerry, seeing as you not, what do you suggest the council of the whole, as the next step for the council of the whole?
My suggestion would be that the committee of the whole refer the letters of endorsement to the city council, which we'll bring forward next Monday. And that it instruct the administration to continue discussions with Westbrook Housing to bring back the TIF question to the finance committee when it is
And so moved. We have a second. Second. Any discussion, please? Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just, Chris, very quickly, for the folks in the audience, they may have a little concern with the word privatization versus what they have seen in the past. Could you just, reiterate that privatization really isn't the authority of banning the property and giving it to someone else? So please.
Thank you, Council, for giving me a chance to clarify that. Using industry terms, it's like going to the doctor. So just tell me that I've never been to med school. Privatization really means this: is that right now this is the housing that is owned and the land owned by the housing authority is on the federal deed of trust. It means part of the public entity. By privatization, it means actually that we're actually partnering through the housing authority with the Westbrook Development Corp, which is also 501. It's a 501c3. So it's a private nonprofit versus housing authority. But through this process, we're allowed to access sources of funds, mainly through the low-income housing tax credit program. Those funds come from banks, industry, those people who invest into the property. And that's the private capital side of it. That's regulated by the IRS. So when we talk about privatization, we're actually talking about the private capital that comes into the development. Without that private, if we didn't have that private capital, we would have to go and get a $3 to $4 million loan with, today maybe about 5.5%, if you're lucky. And I pay so much interest, I can't afford to keep the property, affordable rents and pay the utilities. So that's what we mean by privatization, using private capital.
So pretty much everything, even though everything will change on paper, nothing will change, very little will change on a day-to-day basis.
Correct. Westbrook Housing will continue operating, will build the property to Westbrook Development. Westbrook Housing will continue to manage the property. Westbrook Housing with HUD will control the property with the Section 8 vouchers. And we will have that oversight of the property as well. The property actually has the same inspection requirements as it does now. That will maintain force to what's called REACT. So all of those mechanisms stay in place of oversight. Now, also, the city appoints the board members to Westbrook Housing, and Westbrook Development Corp has by the bylaws, 3 of those board members sit on the Westbrook Development Corp. So the city will still have that control of oversight to the town.
Thanks for that. Thank you.
Jerry, you have a comment?
The only thing I want to comment on is the concept of tax credit financing. It's very popular right now.
Tax incentive.
Tax credit financing, not tax credit financing. This is the
That's
federal government.
9% tax credit.
Yes. It basically lowers the
Rather
interest
going
rate.
after 4%. Almost.
It basically lowers the interest rate of their access to capital. Because it's private dollars, but the tax credits are an economic advantage to the people who invest in those, who provide that money, basically. What it's doing, and basically this is the federal government trying to provide capital resources to public housing, not through their expenditure side budget, but through future revenue. So very popular, very common, and when we sit and listen to companies like Avesta come before us about a project, they're using this very same financing mechanism. It basically is deferring future revenue through a revenue subsidy as opposed to an expenditure subsidy of the federal government. So it's a great vehicle. It is how you get funding for affordable housing projects. It also, in my opinion, is dangerous fiscal policy for the federal government, but that's not.
One question to our development director: is there an advantage promoting the best interest the city of Westbrook have increased and high quality public housing or assisted housing for the elderly?
Is this a trick question?
Not a bit.
Then my answer is yes.
Very briefly, watching the clock. What would the advantage?
I think Westbrook has a heart and has made housing available for this otherwise vulnerable population. And Chris articulated the need. I think the current waiting list is 400 plus individual or family on the waiting
405.
list. What's that?
405.
Which I think is a pretty compelling waiting list. And I'd certainly like to see Westbrook take care of Westbrook's elderly residents rather than force them into the neighboring jurisdiction of Portland, for example.
Not to mention what it saves us on the fire department and so forth. A moving amount of less than houses they cannot afford the money. At this point, this is any other discussion? Yes.
And one thing that we want to not lose sight of, and Chris brought this out, is that this looks to be a multi-generational turnover. from the boomers to the next generation. So even though we have 486, now we'll have 486 for the next generation and 486 maybe for the next generation. So the multi-generational need is clearly there. So I don't think we should lose sight of that either. So whatever funds that are poured into this project will reap the benefits of multi-generation as opposed to a single generation.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you.
At this point, we have a motion on the floor by Councilman Riley, seconded by Councilman Reardon. All those in favor, support? Against? Tonight, by the way, I'm stretching my hand up. At this point, unless there's any other business, meeting the whole is closed. So. Bathroom break.
I would just like to thank the council, committee, as a whole, and the administration for your time.
Good job, sir. Good job. Mr. Roach, Chris, at some time, is there any way we could get a flow chart? Try to follow you guys.
Absolutely.
I would really appreciate it.
You're on. The audio and video are on here.
You all right?
Good evening. I call to order tonight a regular special meeting tonight of the Westbrook City Council. Madam Clerk, will you please read the call?
Counselor Chow.
Here.
Counselor Emma.
Here.
Counselor O'Hara.
Here.
Counselor Reardon.
Here.
Counselor Santi.
Here.
Vice President Foley.
Here.
President Riley.
Here, before we think, could you also read the call for us?
Yeah. The Westbrook City Council special meeting was called for Monday, April 7th, 15 at 7 p.m.
Thank you. That's perfect. Senate Meeting President, please stand and pledge allegiance to the flag.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you to those who are watching this delayed. And we apologize for the technical difficulties. It's not being broadcast live from the city, except it is being broadcast live over YouTube in some way. So if you are actually watching us over YouTube, you know a lot more than I do. So this may be the first time that happens. We're streaming live over YouTube. Again, I apologize for the technical difficulties at that time. I'm sure we'll fix for it. Hopefully we'll fix for it next time. In your packets tonight, you have minutes from the March 2nd City Council meeting, the April 6th Finance Committee meeting, and the April 6th City Council meeting. If there are no changes to those minutes, we'll let those stand. Seeing none, that brings us to the mayor's message.
A few items. I want to let everyone know that the Trinity Lutheran Church is continuing their food train, food drive, which is to benefit Westbrook Food Pantry. Many of our elderly families, disabled and unemployed people in the community come to the pantry on a regular basis in order to supplement their food needs. And they have had canisters in several of the businesses and churches in Westbrook. And Friday, May 1st, will be the beginning of the train where they will collect the food and the money. And on the second, they will be at Shaw's and at Bicentennial Park in front of Hannaford's to collect more food. And then they will be delivering it to the food pantry. Last year they raised $3,700 and collected 130 large boxes of food. So if you haven't seen them, please look for them. They made a contribution that would be most appreciated. Also want to mention that the Convention and Visitors Bureau gave us an award recently for Bringing Yours Home, it was called. And there's a plaque sitting in City Hall, and it was for securing the Tough Mudder event that generated the largest economic impact for our region. So there's a nice plaque, and Bill Baker was on him to accept that award. Also want to mention that once again for 2014, the Arbor Day Foundation honors us for being urban and forest management, which speaks to our dedication to tree growth in an urban setting. And since we just had those days, particularly notable. Chief Turcotte let me know recently that Maine EMS has honored our Westbrook Fire Department. They are finalists for an Outstanding Call Award for 2014, and that is due to their heroic actions. It was shift 2 for saving a 13-year-old actually cardiac arrest of unacceptable early days. And notably, Captain Peter Mullen, firefighter Richard DiLorenzo, firefighter Aaron Riley, And then second, on the scene, firefighter Sawyer Coleman, firefighter Jerry Colholm, and, of course, thanks to the family, the young lady is doing well, she's back in school, back in the community, and much appreciated, the actions, not just for them, and then for all of them. At our next meeting, they will be passing out the first ever annual report, which, I've had an opportunity to review. There's some great information in it. We should have that at the next meeting. And we hope to see that annually. And then finally, I would invite Chief Roberts to the podium because we have an award this evening for the employee of the quarter for the police department. And the chief is going to read a little bit about the recipient.
Thank you, Mayor Hilton. Officer Close, if you can stand up here so you can be recognized while I read.
And you're on YouTube.
So they're looking at you and not me, so to focus. For those that don't know, since coming on board as the Westwood Police Chief and working with the employees, both civilian and sworn, we've created Employee of the Quarter to recognize somebody that's nominated by their peer group and selected by a group of peers that are a committee for the Employee of the Quarter process. So we're recognizing Officer Ryan Close for January to March of 2015. And his award reads, "You are hereby named the Westwood Police Department's Employee of the Quarter for the first quarter of 2015. You have been selected for this honor by a committee of your peers. This award is presented to you in recognition of your duties as the Westwood Police Department's representative attached to the Maine Violent Offenders Task Force. In this role, you have attended numerous specialized training in forensic cellular analysis, using your newly acquired skills to be instrumental in tracking and apprehending several violent offenders in Westbrook and throughout the state of Maine. You have worked with multiple other agencies and offices to safely take these offenders into custody. Examples of cases your efforts have proven to be invaluable include a robbery at Arts Variety, a bomb threat to the Westbrook Public Safety Building, a shooting incident on Bridgeton Road, and most recently the robbery of Shaw's Supermarket. Although you have been partially pulled from this assignment in order to assist covering patrol vacancies for the past 3 months, you still maintain a high morale and level of productivity, including routinely committing additional hours of your own time to make yourself available to assist any law enforcement officer in tracking criminals during all hours of the day and night. And you have incorporated opportunities to share your newly acquired skills with other officers by creating a one-day basic training course for officers on drafting correct legal process to provide valuable, usable information to prosecutors and forensic examiners. We are proud of you, Ryan. We thank you for the inspiration you have given us. We present you with this plaque as a memento of our appreciation. Dated April 21st, 2015.
Right?
Really?
This is the only time we're going to ask you to come to the mic.
No, just thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to do this. The Westbrook Police Department is one of the best police departments in the state of Maine. I know that firsthand from getting to travel throughout the state and other states in New England. And it's an incredible department we have here. And I don't know if people in the community know that if they don't travel outside and interact in those circles. So just very happy to be a part of it. Thank you.
That brings us to our student representative update.
Senior prom is this Saturday on May 2nd. The Westbrook High School Talent Show will be held on May 7th at 7 p.m. at the Westbrook High School. Also, class of 2015 honors dinner will be held on May 6th at 6 p.m.
Thank you very much. That brings us to our first public comment period, during which anyone can speak on any matter for 3 minutes. Councilor Emery.
Thank you. Okay. I received 2 emails from the public. And if I do it right, I can find them. Okay. The first one. Both of these deal with here we go. This one is from Jim Walsh, who lives at 527 Bridge Street, Westbrook, Maine. My place. April 26, 2015, to 4:04 p.m. I'm not understanding what possible reason.
Just one second. You can certainly do that now if you want. We, of course, we are going to have public comment on the budget and picking up that. You certainly could read it then too if you want, but you're welcome to do it now.
Thank you, I will.
Okay.
They're only asking for 17% of the budget, which is fine, and I just want you to fully understand what my place means to some of these teens. I probably had a fairly pleasant childhood, bad neighborhoods when I was a child born in 1955. Things have changed. Divorce rate is, I think, near 90. It just seems like at Little League game last year, I heard one parent tell another parent that their child was the only one classroom that had both parents. Not sure what grade the child was in. Wow! Not too many teenagers have both parents at home. But in the case in the 60s, it was rare that a child's parents had divorced. Place where teenagers can go is imperative nowadays. Go talk to a police officer who has dealt with the family problems I'm sure my place made or will make a difference in that child's life. You will never see it or hear about it, but it will happen. I read that Westbrook has a dozen projects to make Westbrook a happening place. In years to come, but then we throw the hidden problems away. Over 500 clients, 17% of the budget for best value outfit. Be proud of your decision. Help kids out who need it. I do not want to apply. See the results in the paper. Thank you for listening from Mr. Walsh. In the spirit of that, the other one is from another, but I will read that later. So, board. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to be heard during public comment? James?
James Trashfontaine, now 639 Duck Pond Road. I just wanted to point out one thing for some people here. I know there's a few people who came to support my place, Teen Center. You're not going to be able to speak until almost 9 o'clock. So if you do have something that you want to say in behalf of the center or for not funding us or for funding us, this would be a good time to do it now, or you're going to be forced to sit here and go through a long meeting. So I just wanted to point that out. Thank you.
Thank you. I hope we'll get to that before 9 o'clock tonight. I'll be a little more optimistic. Is there anyone else who wishes to hear? Yes, please. You want to say your name and address?
What's that?
You can come say your name and your address.
Okay, thank you. I'm hearing impaired, so I'll try that. My name is Lori. Whoops. Better?
I've got even better idea. Let's slide it back because the police chief is extremely tall. She'd like to show off.
You didn't call me extremely short.
I did not say that.
My name is Lori Whitlock, and I live at 210 Forest Street. Actually just moved to Westbrook last February. I had worked in Westbrook for several years, and I have volunteered at my place, Teen Center, for about 7 years now, and was elected to the board about 2 years into my volunteering for the center. I'm the secretary of the board, and I'm not a numbers person. Okay, so I'll let everybody else talk about numbers. But I also cook 2 nights a week, and actually just left there tonight. Had a quick change, you know, Superman change, I guess. And In fact, if any of your envelopes have a special aroma to them, it's turkey bacon with breakfast for dinner tonight. So, again, I'm the secretary of the board. I love My Place Teen Center. It's a wonderful place to volunteer. I did want to share a personal story about why I volunteer at My Place Teen Center. I think it's important. It is difficult for me to share, but I will certainly do my best. When I was a child, from the ages of 4 to about 10 or 12 years old, I was physically and verbally abused by a healthcare provider, the city of Portland. And I was one of 5 children. I lived in quasi-middle class type family, but it was tight. My dad was USMC, proud daughter, USMC, 22 years in the Marine Corps, but he was gone. He was on active duty. And so my mom was pretty much a single mom and working very long hours to support and take care of 5 children while my dad was on active duty. I have post-traumatic stress disorder as a result of my experiences as a child. And in my senior year of high school, all through high school, I had a very difficult time feeling like I fit in. Because of the PTSD, my fight or flight syndrome, my fight or flight reaction set in quite a bit. And teachers didn't know how to deal with me. Some people thought I was sullen. And I just had a very difficult time trying to figure out what I wanted to do. And so I did not go to college. I did not go on to college. And actually went to college when I was 40. And the reason for that is because around the time I was 40, someone took the time to show some compassion to me and understand what I was going through. And about 5 or 6 years ago, I started therapy. And I go weekly. And that is one personal reason why I volunteer, and why I think My Place Teen Center and its continued existence and to be able to thrive in this community is so important for more than 30 years. I'm 52 years old now, but really started growing up, and feeling good about myself in the last 5 or 6 years. And but for about 30 years, the feeling that I had as a person, because of my experience as a child, and not having access to the kind of facility like My Place Teen Center, I felt less than. I felt less than, and I no longer feel that way. And my commitment, my continued commitment, I tried to, go off the board. They said, no way. But I will always continue to volunteer because I want no child in this community or any community to feel less than for more than half of them. So thank you very much for listening.
Thank you, Lori. I did a lot of courage to say. I appreciate it. For anyone else who wants to go to a public comment, I will remind you this is our general public comment period, and so we do limit statements to 3 minutes during this
time. Good evening, Council. My name is Ben Waxman, I'm a resident 55 Union Street. I will say I played for the Portland Bulldogs growing up, but I love Westbrook, and that's why my girlfriend Whitney and I bought a house here. We recently moved to Westbrook, I guess, last fall, and my brother and his wife live in Westbrook, and we moved here because of the quality of life that this community is building and is. There's a reality in the world where communities don't have teen centers. I'm speaking as a, God willing, almost 3-year clean, recovering addict. I've seen the abuses of drug abuse on the streets. I've seen what it's done to our kids. I've seen what it's done to myself and other folks. There's a reason why my girlfriend and I chose to buy a home in Westbrook. We love Portland, but we love Westbrook. We love Westbrook more.
I love both places, but we chose to buy a house here because we saw something happening here. We saw a community that was building something that welcomed small business. We saw a community that was building something that welcomed young families. We saw a community that was building their school system and their community centers to be better than the other towns around here. I'm proud to live in Westbrook. I think the real question here, and whatever the dollar amount is not, we shouldn't be asking, how do we cut $25,000 or whatever the number is, but how do we put more money into it? Because the cost of not investing in children who don't have a mom and dad after school, trust me when I'm telling you, it's a lot more expensive. It's a lot more expensive. And this is a great place to live and raise a family, and it's only going to get better. But there are children that are brought into this world who don't have a mom and dad like I had, or a mom and dad like my girlfriend Whitney had, or many other people had. And those kids need a place to go, because if they don't go, all the work that the police department does, all the work that our teachers do, all the work that our coaches do, that is lost if they don't have a place to go when they get out of school. And that, to me, is why I'm here and why I'm excited to live in Westbrook. I know that the council will make the best decision for the children and the families of this community. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Does anyone else wish to be heard during this public comment period?
Thank you. Reverend Tim Higgins, a rector at St. Anne's Episcopal Church out in Wyndham. I'm a Gorham resident and president of the board at My Place Teen Center. So I thank you for just a minute of your time tonight. We're all familiar with some of the MasterCard commercials, you know, that folks spend money they don't have very often and go cha-ching with their MasterCard board and let it fly. As it were, well, a quick little story. Young couples going down to Disney World. Very, very excited. They have a 12-year-old and a 10-year-old on their way to Disney World. They've paid for the hotel. They've paid for all the doings and fixings down at Disney World. They get there. They decide they're going to have their children swim with the dolphins. So while swimming with the dolphins, the little one, the 12-year-old, gets up as he's riding on the back, literally, of a dolphin, comes up from underneath. The look on his face is priceless. Absolutely priceless. The parents go cha-ching, MasterCard, priceless. They continue on their way on their beautiful journey. They go over now to the wonderful castle that's very much alive and well. The little girl sees Tinkerbell come off from the side of the hill, coming down into the general square, into the beautiful center of Disney World, as it were. She goes in, they have a wonderful time. She dresses up as a princess. She comes out fully dressed and clothed as a princess. Cha-ching, priceless. MasterCard. It's a look on her face. I venture to say, folks, that those who enter into My Place Teen Center, coming from places that we would only could possibly imagine, come there and recognize that what they receive there is priceless. Absolutely priceless. Every day, numerous young people grace the red doors of My Place Teen Center. They come from school, they come from home, they come from the streets, and they're looking for an adult interaction. They're looking for a mentor, maybe a volunteer. They're looking for safety from a horrific family life, home life. They're looking for a nutritious meal, for homework help, for positive programming of all kinds. They're looking for limits and boundaries because many of their lives are chaotic. They're looking for acceptance by their peers. They're looking for a place to be themselves. Cha-ching, priceless, priceless. A place where they can be themselves. There is no monetary value that can replace all that a young person receives while at My Place. And then make no mistake about it, folks, lives are being not only saved, but changed as well. Changed and saved as lives are being handled there. So we come before the council tonight as is another conversation around funding allocation for My Place. And just very important that you recognize that the bang for your buck that you receive is priceless. Absolutely priceless. Agency of Distinction for Channel 6, My Place Teen Center. Toms of Maine top 50 agencies this past year. Our executive director named Maine Business Nonprofit Leader of the Year. Paid off our mortgage this past year. We're not going anywhere. Priceless. Priceless. As you allocate funds, as you think about the amount, I invite you to recognize that what will be offered to My Place Teen Center is tripled because of the staff, the leadership, the volunteers, all who are on board, the advisory council, the board of directors as well. My Place Teen Center. Priceless.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else who wishes to be heard during public comment period? So then that brings us to unfinished business and orders of the day. Madam Clerk?
First order of the day is 2015-24. This is acceptance of grant payments for confined space rescue training.
Thank you. Vice President Foley.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to move for approval of the following orders. Order number 2015-24, acceptance of grants and payment for confined space rescue training. Order number 2015-25, confirming emergency repairs to engine 1 and 2. Order number 2015-26, authorizing payment for repainting of rescue 2. Order number 2015-27, authorizing purchase of medical gear. Order number 2015-29, clarification of Maine public employees retirement participation. Order number 2015-30, authorizing voluntary separation incentive program. And order number 2015-31, approval of fixed price for heating.
Moved by Vice President Foley, seconded by Councilor O'Hara. For second and final reading of those items. Any councilor liking those items separated out? Seeing none, questions or comments on any of those items? Any public comment? Seeing none, moved by Vice President Foley, seconded by Councilor O'Hara. For second and final reading of orders 2015-24 through 31. Madam Clerk.
Councilor Chow?
Yes.
Councilor Emery?
Yes.
Councilor O'Hara?
Yes.
Councilor Reardon?
Yes.
Councilor Santi?
Yes.
Vice President Foley?
Yes.
President Riley?
Yes, that is 7 in favor and none opposed, and that brings us to new business.
The first item under new business is,
Skip one, Mr. President.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Second.
Vice President, okay. Vice President Foley had excluded 2015-28 from the list. Thank you. And so, we're back to that item right there. Councilor O'Hara, move for second and final reading?
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. Move to second and final reading order number 2015-28, award bid for mowing contractual services.
Second motion, sir. Seconded by Councilor Emery. Thank you. Any questions or comments on that item? Vice President
Thank you,
Foley.
Mr. President. Request there to be the same from this item as I am employed with that company. That company has provided services to the city prior to my employment. Went into the city's sealed bid process.
Is there a motion to recuse Councilor Foley? Moved by Councilor Emery, seconded by Councilor Chow. All those in favor? Any opposed? That is 6 in favor and none opposed. Any questions or comments on this item? Any public comment? Seeing none, moved by Councilor O'Hara, seconded by Councilor Emery for second and final reading of order 2015-28, awarded bid for mowing contract services. All those in favor? I'm sorry, Madam Clerk?
Councilor Chow?
Yes.
Councilor Emery?
Yes.
Councilor O'Hara?
Yes.
Councilor Reardon?
Yes.
Councilor Santi?
Yes.
Vice President Foley will be abstaining. President Riley?
Yes, that is 6 in favor, none opposed. Vice President Foley abstained. And now that brings us to new business.
The first item under new business is business licenses. Number 1 is a liquor license application renewal. This is for River Meadow Golf Club at 216 Linden Street.
Thank you. Vice President Foley.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to move for approval of the following liquor license application renewals for River Meadow Golf Club, 216 Lincoln Street, and TJ Partners LLC, T&T Golf at 23 Bridgeton.
Thank you. Moved by Vice President Foley, seconded by Councilor Chow. Approval of those renewals. Questions or comments? Public comment? Seeing none, moved by Vice President Foley, seconded by Councilor Chow for renewal of the liquor license applications for River Meadows Golf Club and TJ Partners LLC. All those in favor? Any opposed? That is 7 in favor and none opposed.
The next item is a resolve. This is the confirmation of appointment to planning board.
Councilor O'Hara.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the following resolve. Confirmation of appointment of planning board member. That the Westford City Council hereby confirms the mayor's appointment of Gregory Blake, 23 Crestwood Avenue, to an at-large seat on the Westford Planning Board, effective immediately for a term expiring December 31st, 2020.
Moved by Councilor O'Hara, seconded by Councilor Reardon. Questions or comments? Any public comment?
Just our thanks again to Greg Blake and to all of the committee members that volunteer to serve, particularly this is the appointment for Greg, to send out that little strong appointment.
Absolutely. Thank you. So it's been moved by Councilor O'Hara, seconded by Councilor Reardon to confirm the appointment of Greg Blake to the planning board. All those in favor?
Any opposed? That is 7 in favor, none opposed.
The next item are orders which require 2 readings, and I beg your indulgence at the moment. I believe the next order is going to be 2015-32.
That's right.
Okay, thank you. This is the award of a bid for an excavator.
Thank you. Councilor O'Hara. Thank you, Mr. President. Move for first reading of order number 2015-32, award bid for excavator. That the Westford City Council hereby awards a bid for the purchase of a 2013 Bobcat E85 excavator from Jordan Milton Equipment Corp. Low bidder at the trade-in allowance in the amount of $88,000. And the funds are in the state account. And Mr. President, we have some conflicting information on our sheets. This is a 2013, and the letter from Mark Fortress states it is a 2015. So if we could just get some clarification on that before we were taking further action, that would be one good try. It was moved by Councilor Harris, seconded by Vice President Foley for first reading for 2015-32. And then just for,
Yes, I think the clarification is that it indicates they tried out the 2014 Volvo and they reverted to the 2013 Bobcat. And that's what I see in the position paper.
We've got 2013, 14, 15, 20.
The 2013 Bobcat.
Well, here's 16. Is there anyone in the audience that has 16? 70.
Well, instead of trying to save money and buy used vehicles, just buy used stuff for them. It's a 2013 Bobcat.
Thank you. Any further questions or comments on this item? Any public comment? Saying none, it's moved by Councilor Harris, seconded by Vice President Foley. For first reading of order 2015-32, awarded bid for excavator truck. All those in favor? Any opposed? That is 7 in favor and none opposed.
Next item is order 2015-33. This is award of bid for a 1-ton utility truck.
What are the wishes of the council? Councilor Harris. Thank you, Mr. President. Once again, I move for first reading of order number 2015-33, award of bid for a 1-ton utility truck. Let the Westford City Council hereby awards a bid for the purchase of a 2016 Ford F-350 1-ton 4-wheel drive dual wheel utility truck for the wastewater division to Roll Ford of Westbrook. Low bidder in the amount of $61,415.33, and the funds are in the state account. Moved by Councilor Harris, seconded by Councilor Henry. Questions or comments? Any public comment? Moved by Councilor Harris, seconded by Councilor Henry for first reading of order 2015-33, award of bid for a 1-ton utility truck. All those in favor? Any opposed? That is 7 in favor and none opposed.
Next order is 2015-34, authorizing purchase of mechanical sweeper brooms.
Thank you. What are the wishes of the council? Councilor Harris. Thank you, Mr. President. I move for first reading of order number 2015-34, acceptance of highway safety grant / purchase of radar systems. That the Westbrook City Council hereby accepts a 2015 equipment grant from the Maine Bureau of Highway Safety in the amount of $2,992.50. And further authorizes the purchase of 2 dual antenna radar systems from Stalker Radar / Applied Concepts Incorporated at a cost of $3,990, with $997.50, 25% local share, to be funded through the asset forfeiture account. And the funds are available in the stated account. Thank you. Moved by Councilor Harris, seconded by Councilor Sandy. Questions or comments? Any public comment?
Excuse me, President Riley. I just wanted to point out that order 2015-34 is authorizing the purchase of mechanical sweeper broom.
Oh, we did? Okay, then I should probably listen to Councilor Harris when he speaks then. I don't know why you do, no one else does. What happens when you do about 3 different things up here? Which one did you read? You want purchase? The radar systems? The radar systems. Okay. Let me go back. Want to go back and see what those? Sure. Okay. 2015-34, authorizing purchase of mechanical sweeper rooms. That the Westford City Council hereby approves payment in the amount of $4,116 to Atlantic Room Service Incorporated of Taunton, Massachusetts, for the purchase of 24 replacement rooms for the mechanical sweepers in the Public Services Department, and further approves Atlantic Room Service Incorporated as an approved vendor for purchases of an additional $1,884 in replacement rooms and related equipment. And the funds are available in the statement account. I apologize. Councilor Sam, can you still do that second? Any questions or comments about this item then? Any public comment? Seeing none, it's moved by Councilor Hare, second by Councilor Sampe, for third reading of order 2015-34, authorizing purchase of mechanical sweeper rooms. All those in favor? Any opposed? That is 7 in favor and none opposed.
Next order is 2015-35. This is acceptance of highway safety grant and purchase of radar.
Is this the one you read?
Yes.
Okay. So I'll read it again if you want me to. That's okay. It was brought forward by Councilor Hare, Councilor Sampe. Moved by Councilor Hare, second by Councilor Sampe, the first reading of order 2015-35. Acceptance of the highway safety grant and purchase of radar systems. Questions or comments? Just a comment through us to the chief. Is this your equipment purchase, chief? And could you just explain a little bit about the stalker, so that everyone gets full warning in case it's something that is being used against us?
Yes. Our equipment, we use to make sure that the streets of the city of Westbrook are safe. Related to speed complaints, which we certainly get probably on a daily basis, and sometimes on an hourly basis. It's actually a proactive step. We recently, the government provided this reimbursement grant as long as we weren't using federal funds to purchase equipment. They would cover 75%. So I'm trying to use that grant with some of the forfeiture funds that we have not impacting the city's budget to proactively outfit some of our traffic enforcement efforts. And these two stalkers are actually recommended by Captain Lally to have in advance the new vehicle purchase in future years as some of the current radar that we have is.
Any other questions or comments on this item? Any public comment? Seeing none, it's been moved by Councilor Harris, seconded by Councilor Sampe, for first reading of order 2015-35, acceptance of highway safety grant and purchase of radar systems. All those in favor? Any opposed? That is 7 in favor and none opposed.
The next item is order 2015-36. This is approving the fiscal year 2015-2016 annual budget and appropriation.
Thank you. That doesn't vote.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to move for approval of order number 2015-36, approving fiscal year 2015-2016 annual budget appropriations. That the Westbrook City Council hereby authorizes the sum of $60,326,526 to be appropriated to defray the cost of the various municipal and school departments and the county tax for the 2015-2016 fiscal year, July 1st, 2015 to June 30th, 2016. A breakdown of appropriation expenses by the attached account summary. Municipal operations, $21,231,554. Tax increment financing, $3,728,720. School operations for K through 12, $33,992,592. Adult education, $123,522. And the county tax of $1,250,138 for a total budget of $60,326,526. Less the municipal estimated revenue of $485,870, and school estimated revenue of $16,205,771 for a net budget of $33,634,885. Be it resolved that the sum of $33,634,885 be raised and assessed by the city assessor of taxes on the estates of the inhabitants of the city of Westbrook and upon the estates of the non-resident proprietors of said city. and the assessor is hereby required to assess on such estates such additional sum for an overlay above the sum hereby appropriated not to exceed 5% thereof, as a fractional division thereof renders convenient in accordance with and pursuant to the laws of this state relevant to taxation. Be it further resolved that the said tax shall be payable in 4 installments due on or before August 17, 2015, November 16, 2015, February 16, 2016, and May 16, 2016. Interest on delinquent taxes shall be assessed at 7% on all taxes not paid in collected funds as of August 18, 2015, November 17, 2015, February 17, 2016, and May 17, 2016. To be it further resolved that when a taxpayer pays an amount in excess of that finally assessed, they will be repaid the overpayment plus 3% interest from the day of overpayment.
Thank you. Moved by Vice President Foley, seconded by Councilor Chow, the first reading of order 2015-36.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted to quickly take a moment, as we have in the past, to thank our members of the school board. They worked tirelessly, and superintendent and his staff, they worked tirelessly to put forth a budget that had some very challenging factors out of their control. This has been probably one of the minimal increases that they put forth in their budget, and it's all due to the continued collaboration that we have been working together with the school department. Looking forward to including them in our capital improvement plan, our capital improvement program this coming summer as we begin to develop our capital improvement budget so we can make some of the needed investments in the schools that they've been cutting out of their budget year after year in an effort to balance the low tax rate. The sad thing about this budget is for the last 4 years, we have not raised property taxes here in the city. This budget does raise property taxes significantly for our homeowners. Unfortunately, the not raising it for 4 years comes with a cost, and here we are to bear that cost. I do feel that the school department and the city departments have done their due diligence to have only what is necessary and only what we need to provide the best and highest quality services in an efficient and cost-effective manner to the citizens of the community. So I really appreciate the work that everyone has done, the school department and the city administration, to put forth this budget with the minimal increases that we have, but do pass along the tax increase that will be challenging for our citizens, but a lot of the issues are outside of our control, as I indicated, with the school department and the challenges that our state budget is facing. So we hope the citizens understand, and we look forward to their support of the budget and their support of the school budget through referendum. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. I'll just follow up on what Mike said right there, because he left off somebody else. I want to thank Vice President Foley for the work that he did chairing our finance committee. Both our finance committee and the school's finance committee do a lion's share of the work once this budget's come out of the superintendent and the mayor's office. And both of those chairs, Susan Ellsworth sitting out there, did a great job. I too want to thank the mayor's office, Jerry, all our department heads on the city side, on the school side, the school committee, Mark, and his entire staff, all the buildings. The one thing that's really good, Mike mentioned that this has an increase that everything else won this year, and the increase is derived almost entirely from the cut in revenue coming from the state of Maine. The cut to the amount, the state of Maine looked at the schools in the city and decided that they didn't need to spend as much money on the schools as they wanted. That's it. That's the cut. The schools did a great job holding the line on expenses. The city's done a great job holding the line on expenses. That's the reason for the increase right there. So it's frustrating, but everyone's done a fantastic job. And I want to thank everyone for their participation in the process. Councilor Eric.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. I'm going to thank some of the different ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to thank the taxpayers of this community for giving me the opportunity to bring this budget to you along with the folks from the state. Clearly, you have benefited in the past couple of years by us not raising taxes, but
everyone knows pay me now, pay me later is certainly the true adage here in today's world. The homeowners in this community will now have to absorb a tax increase that no one on the school department wanted to bring forward, nor did anyone on the municipal side want to bring it forward. You know how difficult things are still. Things are not great. Everybody can paint a rosy picture from Washington on down, but they are not great. We are still holding our own. Some of us are living paycheck to paycheck, and any tax increase always is home and hits hard. The unfortunate thing is we must continue to invest in our education for our children, in our infrastructure for our city, and in projects that move the city forward, be them on the school side or on the municipal side. I often say it doesn't matter where the money comes from, it's the same pair of pants, whether it's from the school department that reaches in the right pocket or the municipal side that reaches into the left pocket. It still comes from the same pair of pants. So I want to thank the taxpayer of this community for having to absorb these costs. Like I said, it's never pleasant. We all go home at the end of these meetings and go on soul searching some nights. And it's never been pleasant to come forward with any increase in any budget as long as I've been on the board. But the reality is here now, ladies and gentlemen, and we must move forward. And unfortunately, forward moves an increase. But I can rest assured, I can tell you to rest assured that we do not squander your money. We take your money very seriously. I take your money very seriously. And I make sure that you get the biggest bang for your buck from people who come and want to develop in this community because you were here first. And that's extremely important to me. You pay the bills. For the people who are coming, they will pay the bills, but they're not here. And you are. And I thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Other questions or comments about this item? Councilor.
Thank you, Chairman. In the figures that I have before, is there any provision for my place team?
There's nothing included in the budget. The administration has recommended adding 25,000. There's nothing included in this budget right now.
When did the administration do?
I think you were copied on the same email we were all copied.
Yes, and it's inadequate. Realistically, if I can make a motion, let's see, additional $100,000 added to the city budget, which, if I am not correct, and I can direct the question to you, Mr. Chair, to Alicia, would be a change of how much on the tax rate?
You increased in
5 cents, and to the $190,000 valuation home, what would be the annual effect of this tax?
over and above what we're proposing now?
Yes, as the question. We came up with a figure of $9.50.
That's what I told you earlier, that it's 9.50.
And you double checked your calculations and that's the prepaid. So what I'm proposing that $100,000 is irreparable cha-ching to the city, through the citizens of Westbrook, to the taxpayers of Westbrook, to the people in Westbrook who care about their children, to the people that recognize the problem of one parent, single parent homes, on the fact that the schools do a magnificent program up until the time that schools are dismissed, which is at what time? Depending. 2:30, 3 o'clock? What time do the schools get out?
It varies from school to school.
Roughly. Okay. From the time from 3 o'clock to the time that a parent, if there is a two-parent household, they're both working, if it's either that or drown, the time they get home, without the teen center, they are in hell. This $9.50 is $100,000 a year. To go a long way. I understand it, and I understand. Other members sitting before me, are personal witness, make a huge difference, not only in their present life, but in the reduction, which I think Janine Roberts, our police chief, who worked with the youth of Portland Fund for youth activities in Portland, as part of your duty. And in your professional opinion, with a strengthening of a program like My Place Teen Center help these youth and reduce problems for the police?
I would say that any program that assists our youth in developing the skills and abilities to make good choices as they grow in life would be a good mix.
This is spoken from how many years of police experience?
29.
29, and obviously successful, you would reach. So, there was also in that memo a discussion of requirements that if the city gave 25,000, or in this case 50 or 100,000, which is what I suggested, that a member of city council be appointed to the board, and also a member of the school system be appointed to the board. And this would be, any feedback would be a factor in future contributions. Strange, but they're the only ones that have been saying about it. I'd like to be on the board of VNA. Now, with $8,000, could we put a provision in that I can go on the board there? I don't know. Oh, that's fine. Well, anyway, that's my proposal. $100,000 paid with quarterly if you want to take pressure off the city with no strings.
Been moved by Councilor Emery to add $100,000 into the line item is social services for My Place Teen Center. Seconded by Councilor Sanford. Questions or comments on that motion? Thank you, Mr. President. I'd just like to, quickly take a moment to address the My Place Teen Center. I think I'm the only one sitting up here that served on the board of directors of the My Place Teen Center. I think I'm the only one sitting up here on the council that's actually. Oh, you were at one time? Sorry, I guess I didn't know. I attended the My Place Teen Center as a teen through a challenging part of my cousin's life. I attended there to support her and saw the programming under the direction of Maria Dorn when she was the executive director there. Today, we're proposing to add $100,000 to our budget at the last minute of our 2-month-long budget process. I have tremendous respect for the Teen Center. I have tremendous respect for the members. I served on the board of directors with Lori, who spoke earlier, and been a tremendous asset to that organization with Reverend Tim, who spoke earlier as well. Larry, up here in the audience, does a tremendous job and brings in tons of resources to the Teen Center. James, who's done a tremendous job in bringing in resources and helping to feed kids in need. And I served on the board of directors with those individuals, and so I know what the Teen Center does. And I know the Teen Center has a budget process that they plan and they put together, and they put that budget together with sure funding. Councilor O'Hara indicated tonight that we take this taxpayer money very seriously and what our taxpayers spend, and that's why we have a 2-month-long budget process. And that 2-month-long budget process began in, actually, the 2-month-long budget process that our finance committee has, but that budget process lasted even longer and began in January when the Social Services Review Committee established the review of all our social service agencies here in the city. So this is the last minute of a 2, 3, 4 month budget process. that we're looking to add $100,000. One of the things that I've observed in my nearly 10 years of service on the council, a lot of folks up here on the council have made decisions with emotion and not with facts and figures. Today, we're being asked to make a decision with emotion here at the last minute of our budget cycle. One of the main reasons Mayor Hilton and I, when we began to review the budget process when she came as mayor, we established a social service committee social service review committee, because we used to have an evening here, a city council finance committee meeting that lasted approximately 4 hours, where social service agency after social service agency came up and asked for money. And we didn't have any facts and figures, and we didn't have any backup information, and we didn't know the true impact of the community from each of those organizations. And the council at times, because they wanted to help the organizations and help the needs, they supported those organizations, but we didn't support them with facts and figures. We felt that we should have people who are more skilled in that area and have more time to thoroughly review each social service agency and their request. I understand as part of that social services committee, which I was appointed to, but unfortunately missed a number of the meetings due to the weather and didn't participate in all the discussions. They reviewed and recommended that the My Place Teen Center be integrated into the Westbrook School Department budget. That effort was attempted and worked through, and an agreeable amount, an agreeable figure, an agreeable resolution was not reached. And the budget that Superintendent Gauss presented to the school committee did not include any money for the My Place Teen Center. Superintendent Gauss presented his budget to the school committee back in March. So back in March, we knew that there was no money included in the budget for My Place Teen Center. In March, we could have easily added the item to our revisit list, and the date escapes me. We did have a meeting, a finance committee meeting, where we discussed social service agencies, and Donna, the executive director of My Place Teen Center, came to speak. The process, the procedure that the finance committee, city council finance committee, has established, and that's been a practice supported by councils and committees for a number of years, is to establish a revisit list for items that we need more information or want to talk more in depth about. And we talk about those items at the our last budget review meeting of the finance committee. So when Ms. Dwyer came before, she made her argument that money should be included in the city budget for the My Place Teen Center. And there was no proposal at the time from members of the committee to include that money. And there was no proposal from members of the committee to include that on the revisit list. Following our last budget review session, where we took up our revisit list, it was a proposal at the end of the meeting, when we had an established agenda, we had items to talk about, to add an item to the revisit list at the last minute. It's been an effort of the councils before to, one, communicate to the public in advance what the council is going to be discussing by having items on our agenda and what the committee is going to be discussing. So we have that and have representatives of those organizations here. With that proposal at our last meeting, there was no representative of My Place Teen Center here to speak on their need and request for the organization. And therefore, after 2 attempts, the Finance Committee did not recommend adding money to the budget. Here we are, where we make our final approval to the budget, and we're requesting to add $100,000. This $100,000 adds 5 cents to the municipal mill rate, which that 5 cents I have taken very seriously for the last 4 years, where we haven't increased our mill rate at all. Today, by no choices of our own, we have to increase our mill rate by 78 cents, which brings our mill rate up to $17.98, which is a significant increase. It increases the average homeowner $148.20. There are homeowners all over this city that are not going to be able to pay that $100.48, $148.20. Over the last 2, 3, 4 years that I've been on the council, we have seen requests for tax abatements for those who cannot afford to pay their property taxes rise significantly. And these are folks that can't even afford to put food on their table, can't even afford to pay their electric bill, can't even afford to pay their medical bills, and they come to us and ask for abatements. That has increased significantly over the last 3 or 4 years, and we haven't raised taxes during that time frame. So I can imagine that a lot of these folks who are struggling to pay their medical bills, who are struggling to pay all their items, are going to struggle with this $148 increase that we've already proposed. This doesn't dismiss any of the good work that the My Place Teen Center does. It doesn't dismiss any of the good people that support that. What this talks about is we take everything review everything very carefully, and we try not to make decisions at the last minute or tough decisions after not being able to thoroughly discuss it and thoroughly vet all the information for these organizations. And so solely out of the fact that we've had a multiple month-long budget process, I can't support adding money at the end of the evening. And my support would apply to anybody, whether it would to be the school department, whether it would be the police department, whether it would be our fire department. If they were asking for money at the last minute of our budget process, I could not support it. It's why we have a multiple month-long budget process. And at this point, I can't support adding this amount at the end of the budget. Mayor Hilton has recommended that we add $25,000, which is a flat funding of the agency's request. I think every other one of our social service agencies on our list, if we offered to flat fund their budget, would graciously accept it. At this point, the Teen Center has asked for more than what the flat funding is. I know there's a need, and I know there's all kinds of needs all over this community, but I would really have been more apt to support flat funding the organization, and still am apt if that's something that the center is willing to accept. But from my understanding, it's not something that they're willing to accept, and they only would like us to support at $100,000. So solely out of the fact of we've spent months on this budget process, this budget does have a significant increase to the taxpayers of this community. I can't support adding money at the last minute. Should we have discussed this at more length and had more detail earlier in the budget process, I could wholeheartedly support working it in and making adjustments where we can to help make it have the least impact on the property taxpayers. I hope people respect my position on this. I know that this frustrates people. We have a lot of issues that we take up, and they frustrate other people, and I hope people respect it. That's all I ask. That's my position this evening, and I thank you, Mr. President, for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you, Vice President Foley. Any other questions or comments on the pending motion? Mr. Singh?
Yes, I've worked in law enforcement over 40 years, worked in the criminal business over 20 years. I've seen a lot of tragic events happen with kids and being taken care of. A lot of troubled youth have no place to go. We have broken families, dysfunctional families, drug abuse, alcoholism. These kids suffer, and a lot of times they don't want to respond to authority, to the police, schools, and teen centers like a safe haven for these kids. I think it's very irresponsible for us not to help them go through this teen center, go through this year funding process. The mayor recommended $25,000, and I think that's a step in the right direction. I think in the future we need to sit down with the school board, with the teen center, and the council as responsible adults and discuss this. Leave out the anger, the intimidation, and work towards these kids. This is the main mission of our teen center, is to save these kids, and we need to work with them. So I would suggest at least a $25,000 with the center, and look towards funding more in the future.
Thank you, Councilor Singh. Other questions, Madam Mayor?
I just wanted to address a couple of things. First of all, through the social service process, an offer was made, or a suggestion was made by Sue Southburn, who's on the committee, that we take and shift the funding of those programs that we typically have funded that deal with children, and place them in the school budget for increased accountability and oversight. We're talking here about saving kids. We all want to save kids, but we're also talking about a school operation of $33 million. So we are supporting kids. We are saving kids. We are working on a number of programs within our schools. The suggestion to move that funding to the school was a new one, which we had not encountered before. Seemed like a good idea. I had said during the social service committee process that if for whatever reason that fell through, because we don't have oversight over the schools, to bring it back and we would revisit it. At the last minute, Mike, to your point, I was unaware that they had not accepted the $25,000 funding. And I said to one of their advisory committee members at the time, there's still an opportunity. You have a public hearing. We'll bring it back. You said we would flat fund. So it's back. It's before you. The suggestion to include representation from the city council and from the school committee has to do with my request for the past 5 years to increase and improve collaboration amongst our schools with My Place Teen Center. We continue to hear from Donna and others that they're serving 500 children. And then we have a budget that comes before us from the schools to the tune of $33 million and growing. We need to collaborate for 500 children. That was the spirit of requesting some representation on the board to try to hardwire that collaboration. No other reason, Paul. So it has been my recommendation that we flat fund them. I support that, and I hope that you do too. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Council Chair.
Yes, thank you. One, I would like to thank everyone that's worked in My Place Teen Center. You guys are a wonderful organization. You guys help a lot of kids. I've been to many meals myself there. The meals are excellent. In most restaurants, you guys do a great job. But you guys, as far as helping the kids, you can actually see all the kids' smiling faces, and they really do support them. Enjoy that. And there is no question. I don't think anyone on the board questions how wonderful the organization you are. I'm sure that you all have stories of they'll make this all. You guys do really good work on it. It's awesome goodness work for the kids, and I love you support the kids. But as far as Councilor Emily's request for $100,000, that represents 17% of your budget. I don't want to underscore how much good work you do, but how much good work does the Red Cross do with Family Services, the DNA, the Food Pantry, the RTP, Day One, Southern Maine Agency on Aging, where they deliver Meals on Wheels, the Family Crisis Shelter, Opportunity Alliance, Big Brothers Big Sisters, the Sexual Assault Response Services Program. We fund them by 17% as well. The American Red Cross budget for Maine is $1.6 million. That would represent $272,000 increase in almost the budget. We fund them 17%. DNA, $14 million. That's $2.3 million. We fund them 17%. I understand you guys do good work for the kids, but other people not do as good work. I mean, I'm not sure exactly why. The other agencies got flat funded. Some of them actually didn't get funded. And it's just a reality. I can't support the $100,000 for 70% of the budget. I'm not sure exactly who came up with that number that the city would fund $100,000 of your budget. I don't know if anybody promised you that, you do that, or I don't know how you got that involved in the budget that the city would fund $100,000 of the budget. Or it was a lot of you, why that was trying for. I'm not sure exactly how that happened. But that's a huge number. We've been flat funding. Your teen center has been flat funded for a while now, the same numbers.
I understand that, but I will be refining that point.
So, I'm not sure exactly how you expected that increase of $75,000. I'm not sure if you would believe someone on the side said, yeah, extra $75,000 no problem. Go ahead and include the budget figures that you need. I'm not sure exactly how that happened, but I will not be supporting Council Emily's request for $100,000. It is way too much, and the other agencies are as well. And they're getting flat funded. The 17% is huge. To say the other agencies don't do this good work, I think that they're all doing good work. They can't find everybody. It's just why I came to council. I'm not here to spend money. I'm here to protect the money and also make Westbrook a better place. I do believe that if fails, I will be supporting $25,000.
Thank you, Mr. Shannon.
I am very lucky to have a great family, but I understand that some people don't come from what I come from. I've got a great mom, and I've got a great dad, and I've got a really nice family. However, I do also not teach, but I also volunteer now with Good Salary. And I use the saying, you get what you get, you don't throw a fit. Not that anyone's throwing a fit, but we have a certain amount of money we can give. And I find that that's a good amount of money, even though it's not necessarily what we all want. I mean, it would be a wonderful world if we could just hand out hundreds of thousands of dollars, which would be absolutely fantastic for Sally. That's not the case. And it's, again, what Mike Foley said is we're coming down to the wire. You know, there's not much, we don't have a much bigger space for us to move around. It's kind of getting tight. And it sucks. I'm going to be blunt. It sucks because I would like to be able to say, sure, here, have all this money. And I would like with Victor to say, here, have all this money. It would be fantastic. And I think what you're doing is great. I have never personally done it because I come from a more privileged home. And I'm very thankful for that. So I don't want anyone to think that, you know, I don't respect it or anything. But I think the amount of money we can give you will definitely help. And it's definitely going to benefit you. But I can't support giving any more because I just really don't want to push anything too close. And I also say there's always tomorrow. So with that, not that tomorrow I'm going to like try and get everyone to give you hundreds of thousands of dollars, which would be great. But there's always the next budget that you can come a couple months early and you can say, here, this is what I need. If you can do that, that'd be great. It would just make it a lot easier if we could be able to do this without being like a couple hours away from the end of the budget. But I mean, I would really like to give you all that money because I can see how great it is. And it just doesn't seem as realistic as I would hope.
Thank you very much. Councilor Ridley? Yes. The amount that's been funded to my place is dropped year by year. If they could get as much as they got 3 or 4 years, I think that would be helpful. But they didn't, in fact. All right? As far as, oh, it's bad that you didn't follow our schedule. You didn't have it done by this and that. Matter of fact, I brought up the subject with Finance Chairman Foley about a year ago. Funding, and I was shut down, closed off, and I could pull the situation from which and back it up. And essentially the same thing. Now, Councilor Sanford and I tried to bring this up at the time of the revisit this. I'm not sure that we did the child. So exactly. Supposed to be done. Is there a manual somewhere I missed? No, there is not, is it, Judge? Each municipality does it according to their own methods. Now, we have in our finance chair, gentlemen, with outstanding quality. Fine grasp of figures. Wonderful ability to put them together in numbers. I highly respect him for it. But I personally don't agree with them. He does not agree with me on what the My Place Team Center should get. So, as far as emotionalism, get it. I'm full-blown. I was a corporate financial officer. I look at benefits to communities. And taking care of the youth is a financial benefit to this community. The less problems we have, the better reputation we get. Mr. Baker will explain, the easier it is to pull people in. Because one one of the concerns that companies have, they want to make sure that their employees are comfortable living somewhere, and those employees look at what's going on in the community. Now, we had a wonderful ceremony at the beginning of this where quality work was recognized for the fire department. I felt very proud, first of our police chief. Came up with that idea. I felt very proud of the gentleman who earned that employee of the quarter. I think it's magnificent. And the way he spoke about his job and the community, I feel was sincere. That feeling reflected in our public safety department helps Westbrook financially. Investment by outside business is what increases the revenue. And if it's not going to come from the state, which it's not, it's going to have to come from property taxes, from businesses, from spendings, people coming in here. Anything that we do to work on that is money invested, not spent. There are some problems that are endemic to this country. One of them, watching, is drugs. Probably didn't exist when I was in the prior century, in my teens, preteens. Cigarettes. I didn't smoke my first cigarette until I was 18. Ooh. At this point, what's the average smoking age? Down about 9. Stay. No, you're kids too. No, you're not going to tell them that. You're not going to tell them that. So anything that we can do to improve this community, believe me, puts the jingle in our hands. That's not emotionalism, boys and girls, men and women. That is financial good sense. And that's the reason it's not emotion. It's calculation. That's why I feel it's important. Yes, we will start in July, and yes, we will formally in July begin a process of looking for money in next year's budget. Every month, the council will get something from the teen section. And from me, I will bring a subject every month. I certainly believe at that point there's going to be enough notice to make everybody happy. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Henry. Other questions or comments on the pending motion to amend? Any public comment on the pending motion to amend?
Hi, Sue Salisbury, the aforementioned Sue Salisbury, 134 Park Road, the chair of the Finance Committee, and I had the pleasure of being on the Social Service Review Committee, which was something new for me. I think the thing that's being missed in this very heated, and I have to disagree with you, Councilor Ring, very emotional debate, is that My Place Teen Center is not the only game in town. We are so lucky because there are so many groups and opportunities in the city of Westbrook for a teen, troubled or not, to participate, to learn how to be a good citizen, to learn how to be a contributing member of society. I'm the former chair of the Westbrook Children's Project, and we just put out our annual report. There's pages and pages of organizations that do work for the kids in this community. The school department supports 2,500 kids. We have a community center where you can go until 9, 10 o'clock at night, and there's kids and adults there. You can go to the library. You can go anywhere in this community and find a place to be an active member of this community. And you can go to any of the schools after school. There's a place for everybody. there's a place for any kid that wants the opportunity. And I think being narrow-minded and only focusing on one place is really going to be the detriment to all of our kids. And I think we had a very, very pointed and very thoughtful discussion at the social service review. Our budget was $100,000. We had groups that came and gave us facts and figures that said, we provide in excess of $200,000 worth of services. We'd like you to give us 2,000. We'd like you to give us 5,000. Very reasonable. Not, we'd like you to give us $100,000. And I just feel like we're at a point we need to be a little bit more responsible. We need to be a little bit more realistic about that. We were able to bring Day One, Big Brothers Big Sisters, and the sexual response group over into the school community. They were anxious to work with us. They were willing to participate in the process and to come to the table with us. And I'm so thankful for that because of the things that they do as well for the kids in this community. And I don't think that we can just focus on one aspect because we have a lot of kids in this community and we have a lot of people that are doing great things, not just one group.
Thank you, Cindy. Anyone else wishes to be heard?
Thank you, sir. My name is Andrew Woody Sr. I live at 78 North Street here in Westbrook. I have an 11-year-old son, Andrew Woody Jr., who many of you know and have seen around town with me. We ride bikes. I'm very active as a parent. But my son is one of the boys. Everyone I keep hearing everyone talk about the dysfunctional family and the dysfunctional child ending up at my place. My son has two loving parents. We're not together, but we're two loving parents. We do a lot with him. He started going to the teen center on the week before he was able to go there. He had me go down and fill out the form so he could go. For the last 5 years, he's helped with when James brings Santa Claus to the Frog and Turtle, and the money gets donated to the teen center. And he just loved the whole atmosphere of being around it. So I got him down there. I take him down there. Even days when I'm home from work and I'm not going to work and work until 5 or 6, I'm home with him. He says, Dad, can I go up to the teen center? I'll walk him over there because he loves it. The atmosphere there is great. I think it's great that today we just spent $160,000 in 2 trucks, and we're not going to spend any money to help the youth of our city. I've been into My Place Teen Center many times. My son comes home and tells me how he's worked with James cooking a meal. I work with him cooking a meal, but it's not as great learning from me as it is from learning from James or the people at the center. I think it would be a shame not to help My Place Teen Center. I think it's an investment in the future of Westbrook. And I know there are other organizations. Some of those other organizations do have private funding and have other funding. My Place Teen Center, it would be a great asset to them to get some help and for the city to invest in our children. I appreciate your time, sir.
Anyone else wishes to be heard?
I am Charles Haas. I live in Gorham, as does Tim, but I am on the board at the Teen Center, which I enjoy. I'm the treasurer there, but what I enjoy more are my volunteer shifts when I cook. I don't think there's any debate here what recognition and respect for these kids do and does, and the fact that some of these kids don't get that at home. I understand that there's maybe a little bit of debate here between an investment versus an expense. I respect what everybody does in here. I know everybody's doing in good faith. The only thing I'd like to point out is just our growth trajectory at the Teen Center. I know in Gorham, the demographics of the student population has been flat and actually shrinking in the last few years. And Gorham, just like every other community in the state, is trying to handle the reduction in state funds. But in light of that, while that's happening, the population at the Teen Center in the 3 years that I have gone and cooked there, it has tripled on the nights I work. And I work 2 or 3 nights a month. And when I started, it was 30 kids, and that number is up to 70. on the nights that I work. So that's a little piece of math that maybe should be taken into account.
Thank you very much. Anyone else like it? You heard the motion?
Brendan, I'd just like to comment on the process and the civility of, or lack thereof, of the process. I think the gentleman from Gorham made an important point, and that is we should assume that everybody on all sides of this are operating in good faith. But my fear is if this doesn't go the way some people want, tomorrow we will hear and read in social media and every place else that the mayor or the administration of the city hate children, which frankly I think is the height of hypocrisy that adults are sitting in this room advocating for children, and tomorrow will do so at the expense of responsible adults trying to make this community a better place too. So I just want to make that comment, follow up a little bit on what Mike Sampy said, what the gentleman from Gorham said. I hope that people can respectfully disagree whatever the result of this vote is, and that we can all continue to work in support of Westbrook children and not do so at the expense of the adults in this community that are trying to do the right thing.
Thank you, Bill. Anyone else wishes to be heard?
Yeah, just have another comment, mostly for the public. I'm sure most of you know this front, but we're passing this budget tonight, and we are still unsure what's going to happen at the state level. There are a number of proposals that the governor has put forth that are still uncertain. We are looking at a dramatic change in the income tax. We are looking at potential loss of municipal revenue sharing for this community, which is about $500,000. We are looking at continuing cuts in VA. We're already experiencing those cuts in VA. And there's a lawsuit pending to try to determine whether we can recoup some of the money that this community put forth while we cover individuals in need. We're looking at significant social service cuts. We'll be in Augusta tomorrow with other mayors advocating for some of these cuts to go favorably for Westbrook, but as we sit here today, it's still uncertain. So I just want to, again, remind folks that we're passing a budget that we may need to come back and make adjustments to, because we just don't know the outcome of this, and we will not know the outcome of this for quite some time. So I just wanted to remind the council of that.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else who wishes to be heard during public comment?
Hi, Andrea Todd from 14 Royal Grant Way. I too cook at the teen centers on Monday nights. Approximately about 3 years ago, Donna says, "Hey, Andrea," she goes, "we need volunteers. Is it something that you'd be interested in doing?" I'm thinking, sure, I can cook. I have a family of 3, and normally 2 pieces of chicken does very well for us. But outside of that, I get there, and I was amazed by the number of children we were serving at each night. If anybody hasn't visited the teen center lately, to walk in there, we, through the renovations and so forth, some of the kids that hadn't seen me for quite a few months, even they're like, "Hey, Andrea, hey, how you doing?" And it was really nice to see. The work down there, the efforts that Donna puts in, as well as her staff, is amazing. It clearly, there's a breakdown here as far as funding, what somebody was asking for, what somebody wants. I think overall, you need to work through this and make a decision. Something, in my opinion, is better than nothing. But still, I think it's something that I think the council really needs to look at going forward to say, how can we support this through the school system and the school budget, and the city's budget as well. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Andrea. Is there anyone else who wishes to be heard on this motion?
Good evening. I'm Donna Dwyer from My Place Teen Center. What is remarkable about this evening and other evenings that we've been a part of, and just this community in general, is the level of passion and care that this community has for citizenry. So I wanted to commend, first of all, the council for your service to this city, because it's a volunteer job. It is filled sometimes, I think, with a lot of angst and a lot of debate. And so I give you the credit for sticking with it, for being stalwart, for wanting to be part of a solution and not part of the problem. So kudos to you, City Council for being part of this great city and for your service back to all of us. Thank you. I also want to say thank you very much to you for your remarks, and I appreciate your passion and diligence. This evening, we also have 2 kids here who do attend My Place Teen Center, and I'm quite proud of them. They're representative of all that is good, all that is learning, all that is motivated, all that want an opportunity for the kids. So I just want to thank the city that said 17 years ago, or back in 1996, when they started the concept of My Place Teen Center, at that time Mission Possible, to say, we care about you youth, we want a better existence for you, we want something to happen for you, and we're going to do something about it. And here we are in 2015, 17 years later, after those doors opened, still talking about My Place Teen Center. What a wonderful accolade for the city. So I commend all of you who had the vision way back then, who carried it forward in its evolution, and I want to thank you for your support in the past, hopefully your support in the future. But regardless of all of that, I just want to say thank you for letting us be part of the city, for having our red doors open, and for your passion for just the democratic process. So thank you.
Thank you, Donna. Is there anyone else who wishes to be heard?
You might better have up with me. She's much better to look at.
You can stay down.
And I will move the podium down. Not quite as tall as Jimmy, but I'll get her someday. Well, tonight is it's a tough moment for Westbrook. It is. I've been to a few city council meetings. I know every time I walk in, Councilor Foley looks at me and wonders what I'm doing here. I do have a few questions to ask before I read a couple prepared remarks that I didn't know if I was going to read tonight. I appreciate your remarks, Councilor Chow, in talking about the different budgets. Have you looked into all the funding sources for all those organizations, each and every one of those? Have you personally?
There's no back and forth like
Okay, I'm guessing I know what the answer is.
We have a committee.
I appreciate Vice President Foley's remarks. And I would probably ask a question to Executive Director Dwyer if the $100,000 she requested was a surprise last minute addition. There's no back and forth, so I think I know the answer to that. I don't think it was, but I do appreciate your remarks. I've been reading the American Journal ever since it came out, or I learned to read. So people in Westbrook may say we learn a little slower in Westbrook than other places, but I have been reading this American Journal. I appreciate your remarks on social media, Bill Baker. I think you'll see some of those things you feared come up tomorrow. I see a big headline about teen center funding in peril, and then I see a smaller headline the following week's paper. Mayor seeks $25,000 funding for the teen center. In your earlier comments, Mayor, I believe you said it was a surprise to you that the relationship fell apart in the collaboration between the school department and the executive director, Donna Dwyer. I don't know if you were here the evening when she stood up here and she said she tried, and she looked over at Superintendent Gauss. He said he tried. And I think we all understood in the room that the collaboration wasn't there. But I do appreciate your comments. Ms. Salisbury, my fellow church member, I appreciate your comments as well. I would also say that probably not every place that teens go to, they have the support and direction, whether at the library or somewhere else, that they may at the teen center. I do appreciate your comments. You have some great points. With that, I might say a couple of the words I did prepare. My name is Phil Spiller Jr., my better half Susan McCarthy here. For those of you who don't know us,
I can't even call myself a concerned citizen because most days I wake up, I'm not even in Westbrook. My first 5 seconds of the day are often my toughest. I don't know where I am more often than not. In fact, I'm waking up at 1:30 to go to Boston to fly tomorrow. Probably shouldn't even be here tonight, but let me tell you why I am. I love Westbrook, plain and simple. Maybe not as much as my father, who, among just a few of his accomplishments, served as one of our city's first directors of public works, helped unearth Colonel Westbrook from a secret burial grave in 1976 behind Smiling Hill Farm, and whose dying words were, "I just want to walk the streets of Westbrook one more time." But I do love Westbrook. In fact, Councilor Foley, I do have one sticker left. It made E. Cornell's 150th birthday today as one of the founding land-grant universities in the country, but today Westbrook is more important to me. And I do need more of those stickers, and Mayor Hilton, I suggest we get a lot more calendars and stickers. In fact, many on my New York to Portland flights who don't know what the W in PWM stands for, I would venture to say all of them now know what W stands for. Many of you in this room may not. It stands for Westbrook. Also, those same people know what that wooden bird is hanging when they leave the airport going down a baggage claim in the park that Westbrook played, and that bird from Archangel, our sister city, and its relationship with our city. I often joke my father had his priorities a little bit out of order, depending on the day. You never knew if family was more important to him, God, country, the city of Westbrook. You just never knew. He attended the old high school on Main Street, and he went to the church right next door, right in the middle of Westbrook. In fact, he was baptized in that church. His father was baptized in that church. Today, that church still stands right in the middle of our city in downtown Westbrook. A downtown area that is undergoing some pretty cool revitalization efforts, thanks to a lot of people in this room today. The mayor, the council, Bill Baker, Abigail and her team. There are too many people to mention. I've always said the city has so much potential, and I applaud those currently driving that potential forward. I would challenge any city of our size to have the collective passion, intellect, and experience in this room today. Today, that old high school, it's no longer a school, and that church is no longer a church. We all in this room know what it is. I personally wish I had seen its transformation over the years, and its organizational transformation as well. But I was gone playing silly games for the Navy in some pretty nasty places. That old church, I can say, and the experiences I have had inside it are pretty welcoming when walking through those red doors to a lot of kids that weren't like us growing up. Abused, unloved, at risk. And yet that building is still in the heart of the city. I've heard many stories of us struggling, trying to start the Mission Possible program, 17 years, that's pretty impressive. I know many in this room had parts of it. I applaud your parts. We, as a city, are fortunate in so many ways, not just with our incredible history, our river running through it. We're right next to the #1 foodie destination in America, Portland. For those of you who don't know me too well, you know I should weigh 600 pounds. I don't hit the treadmill for an hour a day like somebody here does. We're a part of the #1 tourist state in this country during the summer. And we made it from a tough transformation from a former mill town. Not easy. A downturn that began when Bill Sr. was mayor back in the 80s. Ask anyone in Millinocket these days about how easy that transformation is. Unfortunately, we can no longer consistently automatically leave high school these days, or in any other former mill city for that matter, not attend college and comfortably enter the middle class. Our demographics have changed, and with those changes come some byproducts. One of those byproducts is often, not always, but often, an increased need for social services. Don't get me wrong, I'm not a free handout kind of guy. I do applaud you, Mayor Hilton, for your stand on helping our city's immigrants, the general assistance issues, and pushing back against the state. In the same breath, however, sometimes individuals do need a little different support, uplift, and a push in life. Those most vulnerable and often in need are our youth, those same individuals who are our future. They may not get it from the school systems, and Superintendent Gauss knows how impressive I think our school system is. Those school systems may not exactly be the place for them to fit in at times. They may not get it from home either, or their family. That extra help, maybe they're expensive to provide at times. Again, not a handout, a base of support sometimes for these kids. It's a realization for a lot of them on a different outlook in life. I won't get into welfare. On a side note, we listened to it for 5 days on vacation with Governor LePage a couple weeks ago. Welfare reform is a interesting issue. Our biggest assets in the city are, however, not any of the things I already mentioned about Westbrook. It's right here in this room and outside of this room. It's its people. Not only you as political leaders, but our school leaders, Superintendent Gauss, your passionate school board, your team, our public safety leaders, like our new exceptional police chief, Ms. Roberts, our community service programs and leaders like Ms. Dorn, our business leaders, and especially our citizens. Collectively in this room again, we have the intelligence, the experience, the passion, and the fortitude to make this the best city in the state of Maine. As I'm sure Bill Baker has loved seeing a few signs on the side of the road, Maine's newest city of opportunity of Westbrook. Sadly, right now, our Teen Center, with its recent awards for itself and its executive director, Donna Dwyer alike, are almost a footnote, in the figurative newspaper of the city. Although I've never held any public office, nor may I ever, I hope I speak for the mayor and the entire city council when I do congratulate you, Donna, on receiving that Maine Biz Executive Director of the Year award. I, for one, will be proud of you to represent our city and its struggling youth, and hope to be at your award presentation at the Portland the Portland Country Club on May 7th. I'm sure many of our city leaders will be there as well to congratulate you. Whatever the reasons, the blood, sweat, and tears of the earlier Mission Possible programs and startup may have fallen a bit short in its past. It's time. It's time to move on from that past. In the collective intelligence and passion of this room, it's my hope that in the future, any deep-seated resentments or issues will be left exactly there in the past. It's time to close that cockpit door and push the plane off the gate. Hopefully not fly it as fast as I do. Let's move that forward. In the future, I hope the Social Services Committee and the City Council itself might expand its reach, improve its communications, and enhance its understanding of the organizations underneath it, and understand where taxpayer money is necessary to be spent or not be spent. Maybe set some expectations for the future, maybe not live off the past. Look to the future. Spend some time with the groups. I applaud you, Councilor Chow, for going to some dinners. I'm not sure everyone in this room who's in charge of the purse strings can say the same. Recently. If rumors and accusations start to fly of inaccurate reports, inabilities to collaborate, I hope more visits will ensue. In the Teen Center's case in particular, I'm not sure if I can hear one more time from anyone who doesn't regularly visit or go through those red doors, joining our city's troubled youth at a meal, holding those purse strings that they can't help save additional lives over the course of a year. I'll keep to myself some of the disdainful emails I wish I would not have read from our city leaders that may have been shared with me recently. Maybe my eyes deceive me when I happen to stop in at the center around dinner time and see well over 50 in attendance, and yet hear some leaders say they never probably see more than 10 or 20 there. Who knows? I do thank you all for your time and giving my 2 cents. I know it's often not even worth a cent. I thank you, Mayor Hilton, for your daily dedication, your team's hard work, making this city a great place to live, raise a family, and prosper. You must have heard that word prosper hundreds of times with a governor. I hope after tonight, this budgetary challenge and the budgetary challenges from the state, and some of this year's local funding and personality issues, if you will, that this city will become stronger and better. I do thank you. And please slide that blue. Can I say that here? Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. So anyone else look at this piece tomorrow?
Hi, like I said, I've only been in Westbrook for a year. I absolutely love it. I've worked here for several years. But I want to comment on something that Ms. Salisbury said, and that is that there are wonderful opportunities, throughout the city of Westbrook. The community center, especially in terms of, the resources that are there. Mr. Spiller just commented that the teen center is in the heart of the city. And I think that that's key, that's, it's within walking distance from the high school. It's just key. It's central to the city, and we do provide services. We provide meals that are not currently available, unless they are available, but to my knowledge, they are not available. The types of meals and the planning that goes into it, and the closeness that is experienced there. But I also want to mention, I've heard a lot about collaboration this evening, and this is a small scale collaboration, but I wanted to bring it to the public's attention, and that is that My Place Teen Center was approached recently by University of Southern Maine for a community garden. There are seniors, it's their capstone project, and they've got some real powerhouse seniors that are wanting to bring a community garden to the city of Westbrook, and what a wonderful opportunity. They did approach Donna Dwyer initially, but we didn't have the space, and among cooking and secretary and some other volunteers, I volunteered a garden. I take care of the gardens in front of the city. I have a passion for gardening. So I was copied on the note, and Donna said, "Oh, we really can't do this right now. We've got a lot of other things going on, critical needs." And so I contacted Maria Doran from the community center, and within days, we sort of saved this USM capstone project. But come May 20th, May 21st, Westbrook is going to have a community garden in a spot that is, wonderful, because there's a food pantry already there, and it's just a perfect match for the city. And again, it's a small scale collaboration, in terms of, I know it's not as big, sorry, I don't do a lot of public speaking, but anyway, speaking from the heart. But I also want to bring to your attention something that happened to me a couple weeks ago, and that is that because I do tend the gardens, that first day when it hit 60 degrees and everybody was out in their shirt sleeves and shorts, I was cleaning up the gardens at the teen center, trying to get it prepped, ready, watching things come out of the ground in the spring, and I was on my hands and knees, cleaning up some leaves around the sign that stands in front of the teen center, and on that sign it says very prominently, "Inspired by the city of Westbrook." And I would just like to bring that to the public's attention. Oh, thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else wishes to be heard?
this to you.
Good evening again. I would like to take a couple of minutes just to elaborate on my brief answer to Councilor Emery in regards to my 29 years experience as a police officer, primarily in the city of Portland. I have witnessed a lot of great successes with youth, whether they come from good, solid, two-family, middle-class, upper-class families, middle-class, upper-class families, to those that are struggling with relatives and adults that are struggling with addiction, with mental illness. I myself am a successful product of community-funded programs of the city of Portland when I was youth. I am not speaking on behalf of any particular thing. Actually, counselors, I'm glad I'm not in your shoes this evening. I gotta tell you. Definitely a side of the political arena that you're in as counselors. But what I do want to specifically say is that whatever organizations are out there serving the youth and serving other aspects of our community that are in need, that the Westford Police Department is here as a partner for the community and involved with a variety of different initiatives, and want to, not only by my presence, but by the officers that are working the streets and the sergeants that are out there in their cars, and you see out on the roads, that they are proactively engaging in contact with My Place Teen Center, with the community center, with the Interfaith Cultural Community Center, and a variety of other places as well throughout the community. They were doing some of this prior to my arrival, and I think that with communication internally as well as with the community, and with that leading by example, we're going to have more of that in the community. So I look forward to working with My Place Teen Center, whatever happens after this evening. And I want everybody to know that we have a partner in the Westford Police Department. Thank you.
Is there anyone else who wishes to be heard?
James Transfontaine, since 39.com, we're here. When we talk about the $100,000 for social services, is that just from the city's budget or from the school budget or from the total budget? I know you're not supposed to answer questions, but I think that would be some sort of clarification. That would be nice, but that's less than like 1%. And I think for social service funded in the city, which I'm paying taxes into, in a lot of ways I pay taxes, I would like to see at least 1% of our budget go into social services. If Ben & Jerry's can give 1% for peace, I think we can give 1% as a city to our social services. One thing I try to like to point out is that we can all tell heart-wrenching stories on any sort of program out there, but much like some companies that you have recently started to outsource to, that's a lot of what we're doing with My Place Teen Center. We're outsourcing those social services programs that are needed because it's too expensive for the city to take it all on their own. I've been to numerous school board meetings, council meetings, and you're constantly having to hire someone, you're constantly having to pay their benefits, and all that programs end up suffering slightly or not having as much money as being able to allocate to a program that's already successful like My Place Teen Center. This isn't a program that's been around for a year. This is a program that's been around for 17 plus years. And as counselors who have sat up there, a lot of you for almost that whole time, I think at some point you also have to think about some of your decisions that you're making that are impacting programs like My Place Teen Center that are growing. We shouldn't be growing. We should be shrinking. That is the goal of the programs that I'm involved in. Is hopefully one day that we don't have youth that are food insecure. Right now, we have 1 out of every 4 kids under 18 in the state of Maine who is food insecure. You know, it's insane. It's frustrating. These tax burdens aren't working. So you take a place like My Place Teen Center, you take the emotion out of it,
And you say, yeah, they're good. They have the awards, they have the recognition, they have the grant writing structure, and they can help this city move forward and help those kids who are in desperate needs. And there's a couple reasons why they work so well. A is where they're centrally located. You know, with the police chief there today, I would urge her, which I've been arguing for the past 7 years, is to get police officers to start walking our city streets and to get bike patrol going so you can get behind the bridge on the park where a lot of things are going. So when our kids come by the center, they have a choice. They can get into trouble or they can walk through those red doors. And when they walk through the red doors, they see investments by big companies, small businesses, by liberals, by Democrats, by Republicans, by conservatives, by a whole bunch of people who have no association with anything but one simple message, that there is hope for you, and the hope starts with walking through those red doors. And that's what you're outsourcing to. You're not outsourcing to all this drama. You're not invested in Donna because she's going to take the money and run with it. Our books are open. We have had counselors sit on our board. We have had Michelle Necto sat on our board. Man, I look in the room, I see so many. Ann People sat on our board. Nancy Good. Karen Michaels, one of the founder members. So you have to get back to this point where you're like, the city cannot constantly fund itself. I know you won't answer questions, but out of the city budget, how much is going to salaries? You know, you say that you are responsible for the taxpayers and you care about the taxpayers. Why every time you guys go into contract negotiations, why are those meetings closed? How come there's no minutes from those meetings? How come the public being allowed to view it? You know, one other thing that we can constantly look for is, you know, the only thing I would disagree with Mr. Emery is, don't add the $9.50 to me. Find a way to save $100,000. This mayor, during the debate, argued that the salaries we're paying are the brightest people in Westburg, and that through that we would get some sort of economic gain, some sort of economic bang for our buck. You can't tell me that a $2.5 million payroll for 20 people, they can't shave $100,000 to outsource to a center that is working with our youth that came out of Westburg seeing a need. And I think it's time to go back to the table. I don't care if you spent 2 months on a budget. I run $1 million company. I don't spend 2 months on my budget. My budget is always constantly evolving. You're going to come back. I mean, in 2011, I heard John O'Hara pound on his table and he said, we will not pay overtime anymore. You will get the police department and fire department and public works under control. And what did you guys pass 3 months ago? 400,000? I mean, I drive by the police station the other day. This isn't to throw stones. I mean, this is just to try to get the discussion going, which we are trying to do, which we're trying to use social media, and we're trying to use every means possible to get this discussion going. Drive by the police station. Every time you see one of those police cars, and I'll applaud the police for doing this, they put the year it was bought on it. So when you see 12-1, 12-2, that's your taxpayers' money rolling around. And they spent, what, $70,000 3 months ago? I can't answer the question, but you can check the back. I'm usually pretty close. For more vehicles. So at some point, we have to ask ourselves, are the vehicles more important? Are buildings more important? Or is outsourcing these problems to companies that can get it done? You want to build your downtown, but lower the tax base. If you have a budget today that you are going to raise taxes on everybody, and you're telling people at this meeting that it's a smart budget, and people are coming to City Hall and telling me they can't pay their bills. I'm sorry, I'm a businessman. It's not a smart budget. Go back to the table. And you're going to have to take a look at contracts at some point. They're killing us. Thank you.
James,
I know the hour grows late, so I'll be brief with my comments. Mark Gauss, Superintendent of Schools. I live at 317 Broadwater Street. Couple things. I've listened thoughtfully to people speaking this evening, and through it all, I've reflected significantly, and I went back to my childhood as well. I think the one common thing we probably all have in this room, whether it be a good family, a bad family, whether that be a teacher, a coach, a role model, many of us wouldn't be where we are today without people in our lives. And I'm a product of that outside my own family. I'm very thankful for that. I don't do social media. It's probably a good thing, but I do know that I've been referenced as somebody that is disingenuous, not factual, and that I don't care about kids. And I'm horrified to think about that because I didn't get into education for any other desire that it found me. And I care about kids, and I care about people that care about kids. And I've devoted the last 34 years of my life to kids. That's troubling to me. I also heard communication. Communication is a two-way street. Collaboration is a two-way street. I stood before the council over a year ago. It was a tough budget. And I heard the words about the school department budget: unrealistic, unsustainable, not collaborating, not communicating. I heard those words, I reflected on them significantly. And I took responsibility to that and said, what can I do to be a part of the solution? And I worked diligently. It wasn't, and I don't want to take any credit for this, I worked diligently to work with people to make sure that we could come in tough times and work together. Is it perfect? No. But I think as I look at Jerry, and I look at members of the council, and I look at members of the people that I serve, we're in a better place, both organizations, because we've rolled up our sleeves and we've agreed to disagree without being disagreeable. Now, I believe that as a taxpayer, and I'll speak as a taxpayer, there needs to be some sort of funding. But when the report that I gave you, I happen to sit on the United Way Board of Directors. In less than 12 hours, I'll present to the Board of Directors on the Westbrook Children's Project. I'm proud of that. My Place Teen Center is part of this report. But the one common thread through this report is collaboration, communication, proven research, best practices, accountability, and data-driven dialogue. And folks, I'm mindful of the fact that I contribute, like yourselves, a lot of money to agencies because I choose to. But I'd like us to remember, just like I'm charged to be a good steward of the taxpayers' money for the public education budget, this is taxpayer money. It's taxpayer money. We're talking about a private, non-profit agency that does great work. But we have to be good stewards of the taxpayers' money, and we have to be grounded in data, accountability, and results, and we can maintain confidentiality. And I want us to be mindful of that. I'm proud to serve the school department and the kids, like many of you are. But I'm more proud of the fact that I not only work here, but I live here, and I choose to live here. And it's a great place. We have good things going on here in many organizations. My Place Teen Center is part of that. It should be part of that. I hope we can move forward. I hope we can mirror some of the things that we've done with the school department about accountability, collaboration, and results, and get to that place. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Mark. Is there anyone else who wishes to be heard?
Reflecting what Bill Baker mentioned, tomorrow morning will be a lot of finger pointing and angry comments and stuff. What's the wrong thing to do? You learn from this here, keep personal feelings out of it, work together, school board, council, teen center. The teen center is a gem in this community, it really is, and we need to recognize that. But we need to work together as cool, calm kids.
Thank you, Councilor Sandy. Madam Mayor?
Yeah, this one final comment, and that is, there's been a lot of commentary about 1% social services, and I want to clarify something. We have, I'm not going to quote the percent, but our social service budgets are inclusive of general assistance, social services, the social services that exist within our school department, the social workers that are working within our school department, and the contributions that we make to support our local community. The agencies that we're talking about when we're referencing roughly $100,000 that was for the social service budget, that's for supporting private nonprofit businesses that have their own boards of directors and their own business plans to make sure that they are sustainable. And if they're not sustainable, then a smart board and can move forward with a business plan to find a way to either merge with another entity or to secure other alternative means of funding. It is not the responsibility of the city to fund every agency that comes before us to make sure that they are sustainable. But what we can do, and what we have done for the past several years, is to make what contributions we can to support them and to leverage additional support and service within our community. And that includes seniors, kids, the disabled, and the other agencies that have been mentioned. So the 1%, $100,000 in totality is for that purpose. Our budgets for social service support throughout the city are far greater than that. And I just wanted to clarify that point.
Thank you, Madam. Is there anyone else who wishes to do it? We have a motion by Councilor Emery, seconded by Councilor Sandy to add $100,000 in the budget. I'll just say a quick, I haven't said anything on this yet, I'll say a quick thing. I don't support this motion. I do support Mission Possible. My Place, I'm sorry, I'm not going to get past the Mission Possible. My Place Teen Center, I do support the administration's request for $25,000. We're flat funding that at where we are. Do I think that you can do great work with $100,000? Of course I do. Of course I do. I think there are a lot of other organizations and agencies that do great work with $200,000 or more that we might get them also. I think they'll also be went through our school departments, our department heads, and charged everybody with coming back and finding their 1 or 2 or 3 things that they would like to add into their budget that would benefit kids in our community, that would benefit our elderly, our seniors, our working class, our poor here in the city. Every single one come up with another 1, 2, 3, 5, 10 ideas. All of them would be good. All of them would be worth supporting. We fill the room with ideas. So my concern with this process is that it's being treated like it's a zero-sum game in the city. Like we either support My Place Teen Center or we don't. And that's my concern. Because I will say personally, I've served on that board, I've served meals in that, I've played games in there. I certainly support My Place Teen Center. And I support continuing to provide financial support to them at the current level that we did last year. I'd love to provide more. But we have to do a balancing act up here with the different competing demands that we have. The one thing that I really want to take exception of is the suggestion that we are outsourcing our kids to My Place Teen Center. If you take a look at our budget, if you take a look at the other agencies that we have and that we work with here in the city, or anybody to suggest that we are outsourcing our kids to one organization is just irresponsible. Does My Place Teen Center provide an exceptionally valuable service? Absolutely. And does it meet a need in our community? Absolutely. That's why I serve on its board. That's why I support funding. But I think we need to be careful in positioning everything as a zero-sum game. Take it away from there and put it over there. That's my concern. I know that everybody in this room is passionate about kids. That's great. And that's what I want to see continue. I'm concerned that some of the tenor, and I'm not pointing fingers in any direction, because I think there's enough blame to go around everywhere, that we have everybody agreeing in the room that this is good work and needs to be supported. We may disagree about the level that we can financially support. But I think everybody agrees that this is a good thing to do. And the My Place Teen Center provides essential and important services in our city. So how are people ending up on opposite sides of some kind of a divide? That's my concern. That's what I want to see going forward, is that there has always been a close working relationship between My Place Teen Center and the schools in the cities and our taxpayers. It's always been there. And I think it's still there today. Every once in a while, particularly in the budget process, we all get a little bruised. It's the nature of the beast. No one enjoys going through the budget process. Every year there's one of these issues that comes up and ends up people feeling a little tired and exhausted and wishing that we could have done better with. And I think this is it. but I think we all of us need to be committed to building those bridges, finding those areas of collaboration, finding places where we can work together and serve the kids in the community, because we all agree that's what we want to do. So, I appreciate the passion and I appreciate the thought behind the motion, and I would love to be able to provide an extra $75,000 in my place, and I'd love to be able to provide. I can give you a long list of things I'd like to put in the budget right now, all of which I think would be good ideas. Of course, they're my ideas. But I can't support this motion. I do support the administration's suggestion to add in 25,000 so we can platform it moving forward, so we can move forward, continue developing this relationship that we have. So I would certainly hope that if this motion fails, that we do take up a second. It's moved by Councilor Emery, second by Councilor Sandy, to add $100,000 into the social service line item for My Place Teen Center. All those in favor? All those opposed? As 2 in favor, 5 opposed. We're back to the underlying motion, which is moved by Vice President Foley, second by Councilor Chow, first reading for 2015-136. And Councilor Chow?
Yes, thank you. I'd like to make a motion to amend the budget to include $25,000 in the social services budget for My Place Teen Center.
Moved by Councilor Chow, seconded by Councilor Sandy.
In addition, the letter that was sent through by the administration outlining recommendations of collaboration to the city. Now there seems to be a disconnect down this budget. We've been providing My Place Teen Center for a long time now, for 17 years. We've been funding. This year something happened. I don't really know what. I don't care what happened. If you know me and watch me on council, you know that mistakes happen. That's fine. That's great. And that these mistakes are great learning opportunities. I love that. What I'm not a fan of is mistakes second year in a row or third year in a row. That is not what I like. This letter that was from the administration to encourage collaboration, encourage thoughts, is important. This should never happen again. Because this is ridiculous. We're in the last hour. We shouldn't be here. This should have been done a long time ago. I am recommending funding and also inclusion of recommendations of the letter by the administration to encourage collaboration and support. We all know what could work best. This should never happen. We shouldn't be here right now talking about that investment. So, if we could, I'm hoping this passes by the rest of the council. I'm hoping that I don't do that because I don't really care about that. I'm sure there will be a process and a lot of effort to make sure that there's continued talks and collaboration will also provide in the future. Thank you.
Moved by Councilor Chow, seconded by Councilor Sandy, to amend the budget to include $25,000 in social service line item for My Place Teen Center. Madam Mayor.
Yeah, and just to be clear, the suggestion was not meant to demand or infer that we had any authority over the board. The effort throughout the communication was really to hardwire some solid communication with both the school community and the city council. I don't really care how that takes place, whether it's a liaison or assigned regular meetings. Ideally, if it could be a board member, that would be wonderful. But I don't want you to not pass the motion because of any umbrage with that suggestion. So I'm completely open.
Councilor Harris. Thank you. Could the administration read the letter for the public's benefit, please?
The recommendation of the Westbrook Social Services Funding Committee for the FY 2015-16 Social Services budget was for 4 agencies to provide services to school-age youth be funded through the Westbrook School Department. The purpose of moving the funding source for these valuable agencies to the schools was to promote greater communication and collaboration between the agencies and the schools. These agencies included Day 1, Big Brother Big Sisters, Sexual Assault Response Services, and My Place Teen Center. Level funding was recommended for all 4 agencies. Due to the level of funding recommended for My Place Teen Center, $25,000, the need for additional classroom space for alternative learning programs at Westbrook High School, and the availability of unused space at My Place Teen Center between 8 a.m. and 2 p.m., a shared space agreement was requested by the school department. The funding and sharing of space proposal was not acceptable to My Place Teen Center, placing the recommended $25,000 in question. As Mayor Colleen Hilton has frequently stated, the city of Westbrook values and supports the mission of My Place Teen Center. She also publicly assured advocates of MPTC that the city would revisit their funding if it could not be secured through the school department. That currently appears to be the case, which is disheartening given the value that strong collaboration and communication between the agency and the school department would bring to the services provided to the youth of our community. Mayor Hilton will be recommending that the City Council include funding in the City's social services budget in the amount of $25,000, the current funding level, for My Place Teen Center for fiscal year 2015-16. It is imperative that support services continue to be provided to the youth of our community. To do so effectively, a stronger working relationship needs to be established between the agency and the Westbrook School Department. As a mutual commitment toward this outcome, Mayor Hilton asked that City Councilor Gary Reardon, representing the city, and a school representative to be designated by the Westbrook School Committee be appointed to seats on the My Place Teen Center Board of Directors. This will facilitate communication and collaboration going forward, will be a criterion for determining future funding decisions for this agency, and is a condition of this funding recommendation. We look forward to providing needed services to Westbrook youth through a strong working collaboration between the Westbrook School Department and My Place Teen Center.
Mr. Bryant, do we have a commitment for My Place Teen Center for those two folks to assume positions that we have requested?
We have not had a conversation about that.
So here we are asking for $25,000 and we asked for something and we have not received any answer. Do you have an answer for us, Mr. Wyatt? John's got the floor.
I understand that. After the floor, I can answer it. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Currently, not sure if Tim's still here.
Yes.
Do you want to speak to this?
Let's do it together.
Okay.
This really is a yes or no question.
This, well, actually it
I really just need
isn't.
a yes or no answer.
Actually, it isn't. We have current requests out
For
to,
me, excuse me, ma'am, for me and my support for you, it is either a yes or no answer. Are you going to agree to this or are you not going to agree?
Our board at the time has not yet had a chance to talk about this in conjunction with one another, and so therefore we've not had a chance to talk with Jerry and Colleen as well about this. So no would be an answer to your question. We have not had a chance to deal with this yet.
Thank you.
Councilor Emmett. I could suggest something. Let me start with, and I think that Superintendent was of that starting last year after this budget, I started attending voluntarily school committee meetings. And also I have had the pleasure, I mean, sincerely, of sitting in on the superintendent's advisory team. I learned an awful lot, and I learned to respect a number of people on that school committee because they put their heart into their work and they work smart. I was invited last year, as I know the councilors, to be a member of the board. That time my schedule was crazy, and for the sake of keeping being divorced, they said no. That's something separate. This year, it was brought up again, and this is before this letter. And at that time I said yes, understanding that I would have to make an application, which I did to go before the board and so forth. If you want cooperation, may I offer myself, not that I could do a better job than Gary, but the process has already started as far as working with the school board, and I think that Mr. Gauss would agree that I have tried to support and enthusiastically embrace the good ideas of the school department. But if I could suggest, without anything against Mr. Reardon, I would be very willing to take every step possible if it's acceptable. And I don't ask for a yes or no. I see members before Charlie, I know. Still wondering where that car was that I sold them, but anyway. So forth, that if my application gets considered, I would be invited to work to foster the spirit of collaboration between the two groups. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Other questions or comments? President Polk.
Thank you, Mr. President. As Superintendent Gauss alluded to earlier, he heard a call last budget time for us to work and collaborate and try to make things much better between our two organizations, the school department and the city. That collaboration has achieved or has exceeded my expectations and the work that we've been able to do in that area, and have met on a regular basis and have found a need that we've been working so well together. We don't need to meet as often as we have had in the past, but it's led to improvements in shared city services that we offer, exploration of future shared city and school services, exploration of future shared city and school facilities. And I think those efforts have been tremendously acceptable by the council and our work that we did to work together with the school. So I would hope that we could maybe mirror that process with My Place Teen Center. With the way that we did that was we brought some core leaders from each group together, a core leader from the city council, a core leader from the school committee, some administrators from each group, and a core administrator from the teen center, and the board, chair of the board or designee that he suggests. We get together as a need basis that we see fit to work to improve our collaboration, improve our communication, and as Councilor Chow suggested, next year we don't have this happen. I think if we can get together, have everybody have an understanding. I know I have a more understanding about how that operates than some of my other colleagues, how the teen center operates, and I think if we could work together with some designees, with the board, and the board leadership, then each leader from each organization can take the work back. And every month or so, I would report back to the council that we were working diligently with the schools, and I hope that somebody can report back that we're working diligently with the My Place Teen Center. Someone from the board can report back to their board saying we're working diligently with the city and the schools, and vice versa for the school department. So I hope that we can realize that. I'm seeing the nodding of Reverend Tim Higgins in the audience and his commitment to that. I'm confident that we can support the $25,000 this evening, and I hope that we can see that forward. And next year, we don't have to have any questions going forward, and we can have a commitment, and we can decide what fits best. And the folks from My Place can have a better understanding of how we operate and how our processes and how the school operates and how their processes, so we can all have a better understanding of each other's needs and each other's wants. And we've been able to do that with the school department, and I think it's a tremendous success story that I'd like to see us mirror in this process, and I hope that the commitment from the board will allow that to happen. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, President Foley. Any final questions or comments up here? So moved by Councilor Chow, seconded by Councilor Sandy, to amend the budget by adding $25,000 into the social service line item for My Place Teen Center. All those in favor? Any opposed? That is 6 in favor, 1 opposed, Councilor Hare. We're now back to the underlying motion, moved by Vice President Foley, seconded by Councilor Chow. First reading of Order 2015-136 now has amended. Final questions or comments? Any final public comment?
Charlie Hawes again. I'm not clear on what your last motion was, whether or not it included the stipulations or not. I heard the mayor say that the assignment of a board member was not a requirement, and then the commissioner read a letter that explicitly said it was. Councilman Emery volunteered his involvement, and the vice president talked about a committee. So I'm not sure what you just voted on.
What we voted on was to add $25,000 into the budget line item. What's also been expressed is that we do want to have a formalized closer collaboration with My Place Teen Center, and that's going to be worked out with all of you report, and you'll see them hopefully over the next year. We work that out. You have a question?
I have a comment not on My Place Teen Center, so there's a thing about it.
Yes, please.
My name is Carrie DeBree. I live at 146 Central Street, and I'm also the Director of Development at Woodford's Family Services. I know many of you are familiar with Woodford's. We are based here in Westbrook and work with kids and adults with developmental disabilities, and so I just wanted to come and thank the Social Services Committee for funding Woodford's again this year. Westbrook is our largest municipal funder. We work with a lot of city and town councils on funding issues, and we have seen a lot of cities and towns have to make the very difficult decision of stopping social service funding to private nonprofits. And so I just, as an employee of Woodford and also as a citizen of Westbrook, I would just like to say thank you for continuing to fund Woodford and the organizations that you are funding.
Thank you, Carrie. Any final public comment? James?
James Trent, trying again, 639.com. I'm still confused on that last day when Paul, Mr. Emery, made a motion for 100,000. There was public comment on it. But then when you guys made a motion for 25,000 flat funding, there was no public comment on it. And it's still unclear whether, I take this more as from a citizen point. I don't speak for the teen center, even though I volunteer there. Is it stipulated that it has to have a collaboration, that it has to have board members? Because as a business owner, as many things, I think it's really starting to go down a slippery slope when people say we'll give you money with these sort of contingencies on it, that we have to now be on your board of directors. Personally, as a lawyer, I don't think that you would even make that, because you can't, from a government standpoint, say that we're going to change your bylaws of how people are put onto your committees or whether you come to a meeting or not. I don't think it's very clear. I don't think this council, and I could be wrong, had perfect information on what they just voted on or voted fairly with the citizens' money involved. Thank you.
Thank you, James. Any other public comment? Seeing none, it's been moved by Vice President Foley, seconded by Councilor Chow. The first reading of Order 2015-136, approving the fiscal year 2015-2016 annual budget and appropriations as amended. All those in favor? Any opposed? That is 7 in favor and none opposed.
Last item under business is order number 2015-37, approving the fiscal year 2015-2016 school budget warrant.
Thank you. Vice President Foley.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to move for approval of that order, approving the fiscal year 2015-2016 school budget warrants, that the Westbrook City Council hereby authorizes the various sums as shown in Articles 1 through 5 on the attached sheet to be raised and appropriated as shown thereon.
Thank you, Vice President Foley, seconded by Councilor Sanford. First reading. Questions or comments? Any public comment?
I would just like to thank the council. The council has the information that I presented earlier. I was included in the packet, but I do want to take an opportunity to thank the school committee for their work, their efforts, the administrators. I certainly want to thank the council for your consideration. I want to thank Mr. Bryant, Alicia, and all the folks that we've worked through in a very difficult process. And Brendan did a much better job than I could in terms of underscoring the difficulty we face both on the school side and the city side with this challenge. But if this is successful in advancing past the council and ultimately with the taxpayers, we will continue to do our very best to continue the communication, collaboration, and be very good stewards with the money that is appropriated. Thank you for your consideration.
Any other public comment on this item? Seeing none, it's been moved by Vice President Bowles, seconded by Councilor Sanford. The first reading of order 2015-137, during the fiscal year 2015-2016 school budget warrants. All those in favor? Any opposed? That is 7 in favor and none opposed. That brings us to our second and final public comment period, during which anyone can speak on any matter for up to 3 minutes.
Yes, yes, you don't know what he's going to say. I got a call from Michael Eads, who is the Speaker of the House of Representatives in Maine, tomorrow night at 6 o'clock at Camp Ketchner, which is in Scarborough. They are going to have a meeting. If you want to have your opinion heard on how the state should or should not treat the budget, I would guarantee, at least you can say I was there, I argued for or against part of it. This is the time to do it. I'm going to go. Yes, he taught me about 5 o'clock when I was eating my supper. That's tough. So forth. So, you want to have a say, this is your time to speak up.
Thank you, Councilor. Is there anyone else who wishes to be there? So now, we have no referrals, so a motion to adjourn will be ordered. Moved by Councilor Ray, seconded by Councilor Sanford. All those in favor? We are.
Thank you.
Yeah.